Hey, welcome back to Metropole Grid. My name is Andre. Hopefully you're doing well. It's warm. I have the air conditioning on and the door open. So audio quality, what is it? No, it probably sounds okay. How are y'all doing? It is the 22nd of June, 2023. Hopefully you're doing well. I dropped a cactus on my foot today, like a cartoon character. And it was honestly genuinely terrible. I had to pull the cactus out of me. But we survived and we'll be all the stronger for it. How's everyone doing? Yo, River, how's it going? Stab, Metro, Do, be streaming, Do. Welcome to the stream. Augustus, hey, finally catching this one live. Welcome. It is, we started, I think, a bit early, which Steven says first time we've been live for the beginning in ages. Yeah, we actually got there. We snuck in a couple bits early there. So welcome to that. Just realized I cannot do my go-to mocking on Andre for talking instead of playing Netrunner this week. I was like super stoked to see the rest of the card design stuff. I'm trying to get my set done as well, man. And art is a hard thing to do. Let me tell you, I thought Midjourney would just solve it all for me, but none of it looks the way I want it to be. Card design, that's easy. But I'm gonna catch up on that. I was also doing the thing yesterday where I was watching the stream on YouTube, but I was actually like a minute, 2 minutes behind, and I was like, Jeff is like really irresponsive to chat, and then I realized I was not watching live. So it's been like the second time I've done that in 2 weeks. So I'll figure it out at some point. There should be a warning. Why doesn't it warn me? Yay, Melias, how's it going, man? Good games. Hey, Macaroni, it's been a while. How you been doing? Hey, welcome. It has been a minute. Hopefully you're doing all right. Hey, Seabass. Sarai also, hey, how's it going? Audio sounds good, but maybe I just have bad headphones. Cold lava, those are now good headphones. Welcome, how you doing? How'd you even manage that? This is a bit embarrassing because I think we all want to like be really nice to all the plants we own, but I was pulling a cactus off the top of my fridge, a really small one. And unfortunately it was one of those like ones that come in their own thing, their own pot. And so it's not a great pot because it doesn't have any drainage. So if you do overwater it, the water stays at the bottom, and I wasn't attentive enough. And so the water stays there, which is, you don't want standing water generally in anything in life. So I think it got a bit moldy. The cactus started rotting. So I picked it up to look at it. And unfortunately I had not realized the integrity of the cactus, the structural integrity was compromised, and so the cactus came out at me, which is like my own punishment, I suppose, for mistreating that plant. Extreme, how's it going? Sophie, how you doing? How's Father's Day? How's the weekend? Doing great. Just got derailed by the NBA playoffs for a few months, and all the nonsense is out of the way. My dad's a big basketball guy. He's been playing all his life. He's a physiotherapist, used to be a sports doctor, so he's really into sports. It's mostly tennis and basketball now, and so I hear everything about the NBA finals through him. And yeah, big Jokic supporter, I reckon, as Slavs do like Slavs. But yeah, I think that went well, didn't it? The whole NBA finals. Can't wait to hear about the CO. Yeah, yo, we're going to do an actual, like, we did 8 rounds. We're going to do like a play-by-play to talk about the rounds because, yeah, I had an experience. I'm really excited to talk about it. We'll get to that after the deck list of the week. I'm like really bummed out about this deck list of the week. I'll just be honest about it, but we'll get through it. Hey, howdy, David. And people do not know just how hot Montreal is in June. They think Canada is cold, but they don't just understand. It's really, really warm here. It's like the extreme weather. It's all across. So I grew up mostly in Ontario, and then I moved to Montreal. I've been here for over a decade. And like the summers are absurd, and then the winters are equally absurd in the other way. But yeah, I know, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 Canada level is kind of a joke. It's really warm. Hey, Octopus, how's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. Good evening. Hey, Kat, how you doing? I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I'm wearing one sock for reasons that I've explained earlier, and we'll leave it at that, I guess. Otto is very hot too. Hey, Thomas, your name came up recently. Oh, I was in a neon static thing, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Ottawa, everything. It's like, I don't know. So I grew up in a small city in Ontario, on Lake Ontario. So you also get like that sort of humidity that I find to be like quintessentially Canadian, which is only true if you live in the part of Canada where most of Canada lives, which is kind of Ontario and then a bit of Quebec, because we're near the water and this place gets humid, like unbelievably humid sometimes. I guess the West Coast will probably dunk on that a bit, but you know. Make me watch the VOD to figure out the one sock mystery. Yo, you gotta get a hook. You get a hook in. You gotta get that cold open. Hey y'all, humidity, that's the problem in Montreal. Dad, how you doing, man? Good games on the weekend. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're feeling a bit better too, huh? Okay, deck list of the week time. Rush Keeling. So firstly, bad deck, do not play. Undefeated Seattle CO. I couldn't figure out which CO this was because I wasn't linked to it. I think there might have been another CO, but then there's like a bunch of COs where like, I don't know, White Blade is playing in a bunch of these and he's not claiming his deck list and he's playing like weird stuff and I want to know what he's up to. I probably should just directly ask him at some point. But this is the sort of deck that kind of encompasses a bunch of things I really don't like about Netrunner in general. Luckily, this deck is bad and we're told not to play it. But the general idea for this deck is that it is playing as few agendas as possible. Obokata has been getting a lot of heat for being particularly a mean card. So 7 agendas, and we have basically no plan to score these out. I think it's possible, but the fact that we're running 7 3-pointers means we're gonna have to score out 9 points of agendas. That's not that hard or that different. It is hard, but it's not that different than scoring out like 2 3s, and you could easily score out a 1-2 from hand. But the point is this deck is running as few agendas as it can, so that it can, you know, do the other thing. And all we're trying to do is get a Keeling to stick on the table for as long as possible. This is a bit where I think my pessimism kicks in, is like these sort of cards that are win conditions that are not agendas. I think generally they're pretty exciting, but when it's just like protect the asset for a while, I don't know, that's a fun game. I think I want to build different like sort of win conditions as opposed to like, can you deal with Ag Infusion DNA Tracker on turn 2? Turn 3 is like, I don't know, 17 influence, a busted ability. It's so hard to run against this thing generally because run events don't work. I don't know. I'm playing against Ag Infusion more often than not, and I don't love it. Not sure if this deck is good. It's also playing all the recursion it can. Like, you know, this always gets banned out eventually. And I think it's only a matter of time before like cards like Restore get looked at. If like people are just spamming Keelings or spamming Biobolts. And again, I don't know if this is competitively good. It's interesting that it doesn't have like, you know, the Spin Doctors. I think we've seen other Ag Infusion decks, like most of the Loki ones. And I've seen actually, for what it's worth, other Ag Infusion decks over the last couple of weeks where people are like trying to score out and playing 4-2 agendas and doing cool stuff and just having 17 influence and a really good ability. So yeah, mixed bag. I'm not sure if this is meant to be good or not, but I don't love the play of just putting Keeling on the table and just holding on. But that's what we're going to do. YouTube is not loading videos. Looks like the server closest to me must be having problems. Oof, that's 18 clicks and 15 credits to score out. Pretty impossible. It's like doable. The last points, like, you know, install advanced events. Do they run it? Do they don't run it? Do you know playing NGO front? Can they get in and worry about Obokata? It's like hard, but for what it's worth, like the cost of the last agenda is probably a bit, you can undervaluate it a bit. You need the money up front, but it's not going to have like an impact on your economy. You just have to have that money because once you score it, the game is over. But like with Biovaults too, we're not going to do anything particularly quickly. And I'm actually kind of interested in the Egg Infusion kind of faster decks because I wonder if people are like hunkering down for this. It's also like these sort of decks too. It's just like Hippo. Just continue to play Hippo forever, right? Who knows? See, I sort of feel that as a jank player, super deep borehole is my god. So I think that's a big difference, right? Like I'm trying to think about why I feel way more strongly about Keeling than borehole. Is that Keeling literally chokes you out of the game in a really slow way, right? Like it feels bad to be like suffocated by Keeling. There's always the thing to say, like if you can get Keeling in the remote server for about 5 turns uncontested, and she's weaker to things like pinhole threading and stuff like that. Admittedly, Egg Infusion plays around pinhole threading relatively well. Could you just score out agendas in the remote server? And abstractly, like getting agendas in the remote server actually costs you money. It costs you time and money. So if you're going to score an agenda, not only is that the only thing you're doing that turn, but it's going to put you maybe behind in credits, assuming you're not scoring something that's credit positive, which we're seeing less of those, luckily going forward. The thing with borehole is like it has a built-in lose condition, right? Like this thing makes it easier to steal as the game goes on. It has that built-in, like, you know, pushing the runner forward. Like some runners might, whether you're going to say it's intelligently or not, wait until they get 5 bad publicity from this and then go deal with it, which I wouldn't do that because there's probably some amount of border controls or tricks that you're not prepared for and it can be expensive. But like borehole gets harder to protect as the game goes on, while Keeling directly gets easier to protect as the game goes on. And I think the game gets less interesting when you have less cards in hand. So I don't know, mixed bag. This card just seems to be like really, really quite good. Maybe trash cost, res cost are a bit backwards to me. Like there's a lot going for this card. It's something you have to deal with. You have to run through the servers. You have to trash for, or you lose the game. And that might be a lot. We'll see. Yeah, borehole helps you get to it. Exactly. The longer the game goes on, the easier the borehole is to take down. And this thing, like, the longer it goes on, oh man, the worst game it is going to be. And even when this thing gets to like, you know, 1 counter, 2 counters, or sorry, the opposite, like you have to also deal with all the other ice. Like suddenly the ice becomes massively problematic where you just can't face check into anemone because you'll die. So yeah, I'm like kind of negative about these sort of like decks. Who knows if this is gay? Okay. I wonder if Keeling would feel better if she also gave the runner an extra click for each counter or something like that, similar to Borehole. Yeah, like what about if it also impacted the corpse hand size? That's obviously ridiculous and would be unplayable, but like that's the sort of thing that I think I'd be more interesting if there was like something that kind of helped you balance it, that it was not just like, if you can protect this for 5 turns, you win, period. There was a bit more to it, but who knows? I'm okay with the Keeling ban. Yeah, the thing too is like, I'm not sure. Maybe I would feel better about these sort of like Keeling things if a deck couldn't play 7 agendas, right? Because then it's so hard to close the game if you can't deal with Keeling within the time window that they give you, which of course it is. That's the point, right? What's this thing called? Rush Keeling. Rush B. We haven't played enough Borehole. I think the amount of like, when Borehole came out, pinhole threading was the 3 of in most decks, and that's largely to deal with Drago, which doesn't exist. So I think the idea of playing a Borehole deck is like, not super unreasonable right now. It's definitely not optimal. I think outfit decks are doing really well without it, but actually have a good reason to play Borehole, considering like rushing bad publicity actually does translate pretty well to a win condition. So yeah, mixed bag, but I think we could try it. I don't think it's the worst thing. Corp, let's go. Let's go. Cool. I still think most people are on 1-2 pinhole. It's still a good card. I think you're seeing some decks that are on fewer than that. I know I'm always on 1 or 2 pinhole, but I think some of the greedier decks, like some of the big Anarch decks, might not be. I don't think I've played against Ixalan in a really long time. Oh, okay, cool. This is the biggest deck you can play. It's 352 cards. That can't be good. Unless Ixalan actually queued up with a draft pod. Yeah, no problem. All right, so that's a lot of cards. I think that's the biggest deck you can play in Nova. So it's one of every single legal standard card. I would assume that means that this is going to be an easy matchup because there's a lot of bad cards. So the question is if they can deal with the Keeling behind a single DNA tracker. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Time to mill them out. Yeah. I'm in. I've been playing at the CO, mind you. I played a 103 card Anarch deck, a Hoshiko deck. So I think I can show you what the deck looks like because it is really goofy. We'll see. Obelisk deck would eat this. What, this deck? You think an Obelisk deck would beat the Ag Infusion? I don't think so. You can't counter surveillance against Ag Infusion. Ag Infusion has like so many good matchups because the ability to turn off run-based things is like really messed up. Okay, so we have no economy. I don't think the deck has a lot of economy. The deck is on like 2 regoliths and then like Hansei Hedge Fund. So I'm actually very confused how you get the money to res the 3 of Chiashi in the deck. Maybe we just wait for a send a message. I think we're told to mulligan aggressively for Keelings. So I'm just going to mulligan for a Keeling. I think the fact that it's 1 influence and you'll just die without pinhole threading in some matchups makes it worth it. I agree with you. And but I'm as a player, I know I'm very risk averse, where I'm at the point where like, I hate losing to something that I know I could have teched into. So I'm generally a bit more tech heavy than I think I require myself to be, at least in some cases. I'm not like a Caldera player. I'm like a play better player. That sounds rude, but you might know what I mean. So if we play this, it's at least free. Okay. Okay, so centrals are open. No idea what the punishment can be. I guess we have to play around. I guess we have to play around a diversion of funds. I'm not going to play it. There's 1 in 352 cards. We're not going to play around anything. So I think we'll just stick the regolith first, and then from there we'll get the Keeling. If they trash the Keeling from HQ, we're pretty happy because we have a restore. So the theory of Obelisk CS versus Ag Infusion is you just install both. Oh, and you do them in the same turn. So Diogen's Obelisk CS deck is actually slightly different, but I think it would still be fine. Yeah, I think you would install both. Yeah, it's going to be a slow game though. See, now why do I want to make this on the corp side? I imagine the Nova deck will be better than the biggest Ampere deck by a mile, but the Ampere deck actually has limited by size. It won't be anywhere near this big because there's just literally not enough agendas. But the runner deck, there's like the size maximum is only just how many cards. If they trash this, well, they can't. Unfortunately, they're credit short. But opening with your one of Dirty Laundry feels good on open centrals. Hey Alice, Keeling is cool and an interesting bit of design, but it exists in a meta that supports it too much. NSG needs to veer away from printing cards that enable prison decks. Yeah, I think NSG is doing a good job at printing win conditions or like cards that will close the game. I'm not sure if I want a game to be closed like this though. But like they printed some cool stuff. I hope they trash the Keeling. Restore? Now they don't want to trash the Keeling. All right, top of R&D. We have 7 agendas they're going to need. Unless they find their one mad dash, they're going to need 3 of them, which is a tall order. We got a thimble rig. I think we can just put that on HQ. We can leave R&D maybe open. We have an incentive just to get unresed ice in front of stuff because we can Ag Infusion to stop like, you know, any sort of move. I think with a restore in hand, we actually can leave HQ open. They clearly don't have HQ pressure. They would have played it that turn. So we'll just get the thimble rig there, I think. We'll just res this, get some money. Cool. So long as Netrunner never ends up with a stacks deck that does, they're doing something right. What's stacks? I don't know what that is. Kind of sounds like Yu-Gi-Oh. Sing Ballin'? Kratos, how's it going? Kratos from God of War. What do you mean? How you doing, by the way? They did print more win cons, gotta say. They did. Not all of them have landed so far. Some of them are lacking card support. But I do agree that there needs to be interesting win cons is really cool. Oh, Anga, that's fine. We have 2 recursion cards in our hand. We can just get rid of the anemone, it's fine. Can Slipstream help to get around Ag for CS on the right board state you can threaten? There's definitely some ways to do it. I think Slipstream is okay. I never remember exactly what the text on Slipstream is, but the problem is you have to hit the counter surveillance button. And then, yeah, maybe there's some chance that if you like Slipstream, if you Ag Infusion them into a different server, they can Slipstream back. I'm not sure the text. Hey, Scratch, hi again, MPG. How's it going? It's from Magic. It's entirely based around stopping anyone from playing the game. Oh, okay, cool. All right, so I think we're just gonna get this done. Then we're gonna put the border control and the Keeling in front of it next turn. So I think we're just gonna empty it. We have 18 credits, and then they basically have 5 turns to deal with this. And if they do deal with it, we restore it, right? Hey, Bumble, isn't stacks basically prison here? Yeah, I'm not too familiar with. There's a lot of like Magic terms that I think get used somewhat maybe too casually, but I think I'm in a really weird demographic of someone who like plays heavy card games but doesn't know what Magic is. So when people say like, oh, this is like Death and Taxes, or this is like Fogs, or Gerblins, or whatever, I have no idea what they're talking about. Did you get back into a wife? And I stopped, just haven't got back into it. Oh, Scratch, it's a really good time to get back into it. Especially if you haven't played for a while or you're not familiar with the null signal game stuff. They have a recent release. Oh, they're going to have a recent release later this summer. But their stuff's been really good. I got kicked out of a Learn to Play Magic event once. Kat, what did you do? I love playing Gerblins. Ooh, Network Exchange. The simulator in the bin. Man, Network Exchange is like so weird because it's so influence expensive for what it is. It's in like by far the most wrong faction. But this is an ability that like if this was accessible to like any of the 2 other factions would be a card that could maybe see niche play. But unfortunately, it doesn't do anything. So this is going to cost us a credit. Ow. Well, 2 credits accurately. All right, we'll res Keeling. Go from there. We're very excited for Brazil. 65 new cards added to Startup. Yeah, exactly. Startup just gets strictly bigger, which I think is pretty exciting. Admittedly, I do think some people want to start a rotation, but adding new cards is, you know, is definitely a bright spot. Hey, Spendrix, glad to catch you on live. How you doing? How's your week? Hey, man, this is my deck. Yeah, it's yeah, I was told not to play it, but how's it going? Congrats on the CO. Which CO is it? I can't find the details. Slipstream lets you move to any server after passing an ice. CS doesn't care where you end up. So Alice, there's a chance then the right play is that you Ag Infusion somebody into, and you have to Ag Infusion them intelligently into a server without ice. So maybe you could like play around it. You just never ice up. I guess you'd have to make a server. No, I don't know what you do. It's kind of difficult. This is Carpe Diem for a thimble rig. The amount of accesses they would need to win. I think we can afford to res this though. Yeah, I don't know. This seems good though. Startup will rotate eventually. Yes, when the second part of the upcoming cycle, the Liberation cycle, I think it's called. That's probably wrong. When the second part comes out, all the Borealis will rotate. All right, consume, tracker, that can technically do something. And we're gonna res Keeling. There's a window where you res at the end of the runner's turn, so they hit a discard, but Ixaron's hand size is already below 5, so swap Thimblerig. I think we're fine. This seems better. Swap Thimblerig? No. Another Thimblerig. Okay, so Tracker says, there's going to be a lot of readers here. When your turn begins, choose a server. This was unironic Egg Infusion tech for like maybe a week. Didn't actually work. Click in 2 credits, make a run on the chosen server. This costs 2 MU. Prevent the first subroutine that would resolve from resolving. So it would prevent the gain 2 credits subroutine. I think here we just click for 3. I don't think we have to do anything. We actually could add this card. It will. Network Exchange is actually relatively good against this deck. I didn't mean to do that. But in theory, like we just want something that we can boop them with Egg Infusion. I will install this for like 3 credits. Yeah, this actually cost us 2 credits. The theme of the set being fighting for the liberation of clones of Byrods in Brazil is very awesome. It is really cool. I'm actually really stoked for the theme. I'm like really anxious to see new stuff. Hey, Jenkins, power just came back on here after small outage just in time. Yo, was it real bad or like a casual outage? Not a frightening outage. How you doing? Did you get a chance to dive into Unbreakable yet? Canada doesn't have it yet. I haven't even received the like outage, not outrage. I haven't even received the like shipping confirmation of addresses. They say it should come in the week or so, but like, yeah, man, I'm kind of really anxious to dive into it. And I got like, you know, Riffle and stuff like that, and I haven't dived into it because I want to like learn it all at once. So I've been like off-putting it until the new stuff comes out, and they're like, it'll be 2 weeks, don't worry. And that was like in April, but hey, it's Kickstarter. What can you do? If you ag them into archives and they don't jack out, do they have to pay X for X tags to access X cards in archives? I don't think so. I think it says, because it says run HQ or R&D if successful, so it's conditional on that, I'm pretty sure. Flashpoint rotates for standard with the first set. Yeah, Stevens is exactly right. Standard has a rotation when the new set comes out. Startup doesn't. Startup has a rotation when the full cycle comes out. Yeah. Gonna be honest, I kind of wish rotation would happen at the start of the next cycle rather than the minute set 2 Liberation comes out. We don't get to see how it would have interacted. The thing though is, top of the deck, who cares? The problem though, Tab, is that there's a big chance that the cards that were coming out are designed specifically to not interact with the stuff that comes up. That being said, you can still play, like just go play, what's it called? Eternal. But like, you're probably going to see cards that can't exist. And that's actually a really fun design thing to do, is to look at a set of cards and then realize like with this card going, what can allow you to print? Because like every single card, well, any ambitious card being printed causes huge design constraints on what you can and can't do. Now, Eternal is going to have that problem, but Eternal is probably not really balanced around appropriately. It's balanced by the sort of point system. But like being excited that the bin breakers are gone is kind of cool, because then they can print more stuff that interacts with the bin and trashing cards and stuff like that. It's probably not the best example. I think hard-hitting news rotating is probably a more interesting one, but I don't know. I think the fact that we don't have to see them interact is maybe more exciting. Can't really afford this. Like we just click 3. Whatever. Not a frightening one. Okay, cool. CS is run any server, not conditional on the server. Okay, they should just jack out then, I guess. That's funny. Eternal is always going to be a bit goofy. Yeah, it's like, imagine what op will do. Like, what does op do to constrain the design of Netrunner as a whole? It does a lot. I think anytime that you have a 1 cost upgrade or asset that can be trashed at instant speed, that entirely changes the game. Because now you at instant speed can produce snare that the runner can't afford to jack out. Now that doesn't show up in Eternal because that's not the most powerful thing you can do in op, but like these sort of things are actually really, really important to understand when cards come in or go, what they do to the design space. They femmed to border control. That seems fine. A swap Thimblerig. So far they can only break sentries that cost them everything. They have to pay 4 to trash this. Oh, we should have double advanced the Biobolt. I forgot we had that. But again, we're just kind of like not doing anything here. I'm going to pre-res this because it plays around one of their cards and their 340 left. So don't forget your Bible. Yeah, that's no fun. It helps control for losing to random R&D run event. That's also a really good point. This will stop us to get like, I don't even know what they could do. Like a Maker's Eye is not going to do it. They don't have enough cards. Like Obacatas can't be stolen now. Concerto for 3, revealing Spark of Inspiration. Oh, you have to play that Spark. That's sick. Absolutely sick. Spark of Inspiration, 330 cards. Okay, they're running with 0 credits. They didn't use Tracker, so this Thimblerig will just fire. Maybe Retrieval Run will finally see play again. Hey, Bard, that is one of the interesting cards that like sometimes finds niche play in certain metas. Maybe. I think it's a cool card. I get that, but I mean like a slightly wider card pool available at once. I'm talking about startup. Yeah, well, startup will be larger. No, startup has no rotation. His credit for Spark to get a clot. Sick. Yeah, good game. I tried clicked for 3 manually and just Spark ripped and got a clot, had no MU, but hey, of course, that's how it goes. Okay, yeah, well, that was going to be the way that it was going to be. But, and so, like, the difference is, can, like, a Hoshiko deck deal with this? Maybe. But the problem is, once they do we just, like, restore it back? I'm not convinced we had enough money to defend this adequately. Yeah, well, let's do one more. That didn't exactly count, but I don't know. Don't love this sort of deck. Yeah, it's Keeling. So that's going to be over in a turn. And it just gets harder to deal with. I'm still struggling with the idea that the majority of people can play this game with such a massive card pool as standard, let alone the other bigger formats. Too big, too spooky. It is not as bad as you think, Scratch. And apologies if I'm a broken record here because I've said this a lot. But the big thing is, if you're used to startup, the vast majority of cards in startup see play. And that is kind of the null signal thing, where they put out generally interesting and good cards consistently. They don't have a real reason to put out like stinkers. When you go to the standard card pool that like balloons by like 4 or 5 times, I'm not sure what the math is. I think about 1 in every 2 cards in that format is not even worth looking at. Because they're just like fundamentally very hard to extract any sort of interesting value from, right? They're like, some people love that jank stuff, but if you're playing at an event where you're expecting to see the things you're expecting to see, the card pool in standard is mostly startup. For sure. You go to standard event, the majority of cards are going to see are startup cards. So it's not as intimidating as you think it is. And in a lot of ways, it's actually like exciting. I think it's more intimidating when you have to learn like more ice that you're face checking into. This hand is not terrible because we can attitude this. I'm going to do that. Alice, we just put a thimble rig on archives and then they pay 3 to go through it every time. We'll try that. Yeah, most FFG cards are binder fodder. Some cycles are better than others, but the thing is like you're probably spoiled by startup being so playable. Okay, let's go. Is this anywhere or just HQ? HQ and or archives. Oh, that's sick. That's a really cool combination. I have to play the econ card before the draw card, which is a bit sacrilege. Like in theory, you want to do this the other way. And here we just don't want to discard a card, so we're just gonna put this on archives. We can move it later. R&D is the only weak server here. Should have just played Hosh, but I picked my deck before I knew what you were playing and it felt wrong to change. No, Extrano was funny. Good game. Someone in my meta has been killing me each week with an anvil ganked into snare. If you access the wrong order, it's death. Why anvil? What am I missing? In that regard, if you were to transition from startup to standard, what would be your recommendation? Figure out what kind of archetype you like and just net deck something that is that archetype. So find out what faction you like. I think there's a bunch of like standard decks that are, I think, pretty good, like pretty intuitive for newer players. We have a bunch of new players who are learning standard in our meta, and they're doing a really good job adjusting. Like if you like playing, what's her name? Or their name? Shit, excuse me. If you like playing Essa in standard is like 90% the same cards. There's like 2 cards, admittedly 3 copies of each that differentiate it from the other format. So something like that's a really good transition. If you want to play Corporation, Precision Design is very playable, does the very same thing. You have slightly better cards because you have a wider card pool, but it's like not too intimidating. He says, obviously having played the game forever, but you know what I mean? Okay, what do we do here? Cookbook, what could that mean? Imp? I don't know if there's going to be like Augustina. I think we just want to get our money up. Maybe Mulligan into Healing was actually accurate. If we have no cards, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go down to 0 cards. And then if we top deck an agenda, we have to throw it out. So I'm just going to click for credit. I think we definitely should have drawn there because drawing was way better than clicking for credit. We don't need a credit here. A Netrunner stream on my birthday? You shouldn't have. Hold on, Cror. Happy birthday. How are you celebrating? Oh, Chastushka. Would you look at that? Rip 4. Okay. 2 and 2. Oh, we lost a restore. How you doing, Cror? Happy birthday. So the HQ was the problem. Okay. All right, we have an anemone. We probably want to ice up HQ again, considering we got Chastushka. It wasn't that bad. Losing restores are a bit rough. So we're just going to get this on HQ. And maybe they finality us once, but we'll just do that. I never liked how frequently FFG prints binder fodder. Yeah, some sets were better than others. I think the first sets, which are all rotated, were like just, they were a bit, you know, cautious in general. Best birthday ever. So we'll see. That's a Marrow. So we're seeing sabotage without the sabotage ID. And I think, you know, hand size is cool. That actually makes keeling a bit more difficult. Okay, so we want to get something in front of this. Funny enough, this doesn't do much. This gets 2 counters. I don't think we want to, we could consider overinstalling and trashing this. But I think the anemone just gets enough value. The only reason we want to overinstall and trash this is it plays around simulchip, which we have seen no influence, so they could easily be on it. Considering they're on cookbook, I'd be pretty sure they're on simulchip. So there's actually a good reason to trash this thing sooner than it actually generates more value. I think we will. Maybe 2 net damage from this is good enough, actually. Oh no, we're Ag Infusion. We don't trash it. That doesn't make any sense. We probably want to jam Obokata next turn. Kind of a miracle people like Netrunner under FFG, given how uneven the card pool was. It's because the game is really good. The game is really good, and FFG printed enough cool cards. It's just they also printed a bunch of cards that people, you know, put in their binder in. Like most card games are like that. I don't think it was anything that different. I was expecting a PE deck to make deck of the week. I wonder if it's too late to check out the mini factions before they rotate. On this channel, no. The mini factions are never too late. We will do that. Mini factions are cool. We played Sunny a couple weeks ago. Adam has been doing well. Won Spanish Nationals, if I'm not mistaken, just this last weekend. So like, no, they're doing pretty good besides Apex, but Apex knows what it did. All right, we're gonna just take some money. We're gonna build a server and we're gonna probably score out. Obokata, yeah, okay, what is this? This is a Maganet. Oh, we want to get that res at some point. We'll put this on the outermost. Maybe they're playing Hippo. Adam is the best. Yeah, Adam is pretty good. Adam's fun too. Adam's like a really weird spot where it's like the mixture of being a really good runner for players to learn and a really bad runner for players to learn. Hey, Anarcho, how's it going? Andre's live, a clear sign. Been up too late. DZ, cool. All right, so they played in a steel skin. They have a Hippo. That's one of the worst things against the sort of Ag Infusion ability. I think at some point soon they're going to be running archives. We're just going to try and get this scored out, I guess. Whatever. We don't want to sit back and do nothing. Mind you, we don't have Spin Doctor, so like the amount of draw we have in the deck, especially like on tempo draw, it's a bit lower. It's largely attached to the attitude adjustment, so we're going to have to play the hand we have. Still mad I did the math on that Dirty Laundry wrong, but you had Restore anyways. Yeah, I was hoping that you trash it, because we did have the Restore. We have 2 Obos in hand, so if they hit R&D here, they can hit a Send a Message, and the one of Bacterial Programming. But we're leaving R&D open, because so far they haven't shown any way to get a lot of value off of R&D. Oh, wow, okay. So here, if we have to res the Anemone, just so that we can do 2 meat damage, or net damage, excuse me, so they're unlikely to be able to steal the Obokata. So I think we will. Yeah, we'll get rid of the... I don't know if it matters. We got rid of an Overclock and Paperclip. All the gen cards make playing tabletop meta so much fun because there's way too much wild things to play around with. Yeah, no, it's great. And for what it's worth, like Null Signal Games still prints cards that are not like, you know, fire competitive cards, and those cards are good. They just have to also be interesting, right? Like I do think, especially in early Netrunner FFG, oh, they hippoed that. I don't know. I guess they're gonna be smashing HQ a bunch. I guess that also gives them one of these. But like, it's cool there to be low powered cards, but generally you want to be the low powered cards also to be interesting, and that doesn't always happen. Yeah, like Nanook. Oh, that's not good. Okay. So we definitely need to draw into a piece of ice. We have one, so let's just keep drawing a bit. Okay, that's our win con, so we have to score that out and then next turn push that in. I don't think they're going to be able to contest this. They might be on Pinhole. With Friday Chip, I'm assuming they're going to get an imp down or something. Do we ice up or do we just attitude adjustment this hand? I think we just attitude adjustment this hand. Just for the like the moral damage. Yeah, I think for the psychological damage, we'll do that. Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Imp. So they're going to infinite imp, so we do need to ice up everything. We want to definitely keep our ice. If they get rid of the Anansi here in a bad spot, then Rig's fine. I would have iced since R&D isn't protected. Yeah, I think we might have expected this imp. Maybe we should have just iced up both. We lost an ice there. They have to trash that Keeling, I think, on site. And like, we're not in a rush to score this thing out. It's like a really good spot. But now their economy's busted. They have the infinite imp, so we just have to purge out and ice up both stuff. And she has a good sense of how to print low-powered engine pieces, which means they get play if you're playing an engine deck. I don't know if I would agree with you very quickly. I think there's a chance. I think the early NSG stuff, like the Ashes stuff, that stuff, I think a lot of people have frustrations with the economy behind it, but it's been getting a lot more interesting. That's for sure. Hey Jay, never catch the streams live. Work is too real. Silver linings of being sick. Oh, I hope you're feeling better. Thanks at least for joining us, but I'm hoping you're doing a fair bit better soon. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so we want to stop this from happening. This is Imp, and this is Friday Chip. Again, this is like the kind of cool card that exists in Standard that, like, this card alone can excite someone, then they'll build a deck around it. So this says whenever you trash a corp card, you play a virus counter here. And then when your turn begins, you may move a hosted virus counter to a virus program. So you can have an Imp that never ends. That's pretty cool. So we just want to get 2 ice because they have no ability to deal with ice. Oh, Magnet's pretty good. So we'll put the Anansi here. We'll put the Magnet there. I'm going to advance this once so that we next turn can... oh, no, that's not right. I thought I had 3 clicks there. But if we had another click there, we do ice, ice, advance. So that next turn we do advance, advance, and then put something in the remote server. So we'll put this on HQ. Put this on R&D. Call it a day. They have 1 credit. I think NSG has some ways to go in supporting jankier playstyles. Yeah, I think so. Could you please clarify about economy behind the Ashes cards? Yeah, Samurai, that's a... Ooh, cool, nice. I was expecting this with the cookbook. So there's a lot of cards that existed in the earlier set that are very akin to, this card gives you a credit to turn. This card also gives you a credit to turn. Like Rizeki was the big one, if you want to look that one up. It was just a card that was very easy. It was 1 influence, 1 MU, 2 credits. It just says give a credit a turn. It doesn't require you to do anything interesting. It doesn't require you to make any decisions. We just rip off the top there. So you're not doing that much. And then the problem is these economy cards that are not that interesting, they just say 1 a turn. They put a huge crush on corporations because corporations have to figure out that, well, they have to realize that if the game goes to turn 22, turn 20, that single Rizeki you installed turn 1, that single Paladin Puemo you installed turn 1, that single Keiko you installed turn 2 has given the runner a single click for like 18 credits. And you just can't keep up with that. So that's kind of the downside, right? I think we have some incentives here to purge. I don't think they're going anywhere quickly. The problem is if we get the game goes longer, we're just going to continue to get Augustinaed. They're showing only 1 breaker, but their economy doesn't really exist. I think we're just going to purge here to clean the board. And then next turn, we'll push this out. They're paying to trash Keeling instead of imping it. I think they imped the ice first, so they couldn't. I don't think... Actually, yeah, we can just get 1 off the top. There's not that many agendas. Attitude, it's fine. Yeah, I think they used their imp to trash in, what's it called, in Nanansi. Or sorry, they imped a Thimble Rig, and then they had to trash by paying. All right, we probably just want to score out. Otherwise, we can go for Rashida, but I think we're closer to winning off points. And again, this deck is not trying to win off points generally. You could be running 1-2s, 3-2s if you really want to. I don't think there's a good reason to run 3-2s. But nice, Acacia. So if we purge to get money, that's okay. Acacia, okay, well, if you install 1, the second one doesn't actually do anything. All right, well, we win in 2 turns maybe, or 3 turns. Ma, we can get rid of... I think we need the hedge fund. This is really expensive. It's 15, so we'll get rid of Rashida. 2 Obokatas out is actually really good for our opponent because they have to stop playing around it. That's a hard one to play around. So we purge, they get 7 credits instead of spending 2 clicks to get 8 credits and 10 credits, which, like, yeah, we're not going to spend our whole turn to do that. I don't like this card. All right, we could try for the Keeling Squeeze, and then if we have the Keeling Squeeze for a minute, or we could just do install advance advance. If we do install advance advance, we don't have money, so I think we do like draw. I think we want to get another piece of ice on here just so that we can like boop them. I think the Magnet's going to do pretty well, but I'm not very confident what to do here. I think we need to play the hedge fund before we threaten to res 15 credits of ice. I think, and let alone score this out for 5. The Chiashi, mind you, they can break. They have their bin breaker. That's the only one they have, paper clips. So they install for 4, break for 7. So that's a lot. It's a lot of money. So we'll draw once. Yeah, we'll just put board control up the top is pretty sick. And I do think they're going to threaten central servers. Or like NSG to print an Akiko like runner. That would be weird jank minigame stuff I enjoy. Yeah, the sort of like minigame stuff, like, you know, side games. It hasn't existed in a minute. Stuff's cool. I'm working on my own set. NVN is all about casino stuff. I'm trying to make slot machine games that take up an amount of text that makes sense on a card. All right, so here they're doing this last click. So we have the ability either to res an Anansi where they break for 9, and then we get Chastushkad, or just throw them into archives. I think we'd rather just throw them into archives and replace this. So that's why you can't play run-a-bins that easily. If we put them into archives, they check archives. That's better than anything else. I'm going to res this here so that they discard a card, otherwise it's awkward. Akiko isn't even a minigame, though. It's attacks like 419, but less good. It's not as interesting as I think it should be. Oh, I forgot about this. That's fine. I did forget about that. Yeah, it's not as interesting as anybody wanted it to be, but technically it is a minigame. It is the most recent, I think, release of a minigame. So now they're on a clock to deal with this. We're on a clock. There's only one more Chastushka, but they are squeezing us a bit, and we've committed to this line. I know it's Decklist of the week, but it's gross. Dave, how's it going? Yeah, it can be. So far, we've done nothing absurdly unfair, though. They've been just sitting back building their engine. Okay, so we want to draw up. We need more money for this. Biobolt is something we can do next turn. We'll just put this on HQ. Again, if they just go through this and pay that, and then, like, they haven't been able to get through the magnet, we just do it again. So now they're on a clock. They have to deal with this. Are you doing AR? Yes. You mentioned it was rough. What pain points are you having? Hippo's really good there. My pain point is that I am struggling, and I know there's so much skill involved in using, what's it called? Like mid-journey to an effect, like to make it good, to get the thing you want it to be. Here, I kind of want to, like, so we can throw into archives, that's bad. If we res the Chiashi, they spend 11, we lose the Chiashi. So I don't think we do that. I think we just res the magnet. It's unfortunate though, because we want to use this to deal with the botulus. But yeah, I'm just not getting the art I want. Like I can imagine it, but then I can't make the machine make it. Right? Like I'm trying to get a bow and arrow. Can't do it. Just can't do it. Can't get a bow and arrow. That looks good. That looks like the way I want it to look. Also, like I have some stuff that is like to do the weapon subtype, and like asking it to do like a double barrel shotgun. It just doesn't know what that is. It can't do it. So someone tell NSG to print a runner that starts a poker side game every time they hit R&D. I don't know if y'all into Arkham Horror, but there's been a poker game in there in one of the newer sets. It's really cool. All right, thinking. So hand size, it's getting smaller. We have good incentives to get another piece of ice on here because then we can res the Chiashi. We have a money issue. So our money is largely in the regolith. So if we install the regolith, res the regolith, and then hit the regolith twice, we gain 4 credits for a whole turn. They trash it, cost them money, and then they charge the imp. It forces them to do something, so it's not the worst, but we'll be on 17 credits. I think it's more important we get an ice on here and then just click for credits. The other options do install advanced events on the Biovault. That doesn't beat Botulus, but you can't Botulus this. I think we just do this, and then we can afford to res the Chiashi. Just go get the cowboy game. Doomtown's so good, y'all. I don't think y'all know how actually good Doomtown is. It is really good. Just heard the Stacks comment watching the replay of our game. That's just the load testing deck that eats all the clicks. I play the pants off of a Sherazada runner. Hell, an Arabian Night set would be incredible. You know, there's a card called Sherazada. Back in the day. It was a really cool card too. It was like one of the cards that like enabled jank builds. It's a really cool card. I've yet to actually get around to Fortune and Folly, but we did finish TSK recently enough. Supernaut, the best way to play that is within TSK. Because it incorporates it really well. I did the, I guess, is it secret scenario? We did the secret scenario yesterday. It was actually really cool. So we do install advanced events. We just don't have enough money to res stuff. So I'm going to get this on the border, on the table. If they deal with it, that's good for us. When you mentioned you're designing your own set, I'm considering designing my own as well. What is the sort of end game you have in mind when designing your own stuff? Where would it be used? So you have to kind of make your design goals of what set you want this to be legal with, and kind of also what you want it to do. Some people just want to make cool flavor stuff and make good narratives, explore the world. Super cool. For me, I want to make a set that I'd be interested to play. That would be legal immediately in standard, considering the rotation, I guess. But I'm very cognizant to be like, you cannot have this card because the way it interacts with this other card that exists in the format would be bad. How I plan to release it, if I can release it, I want to get it out before the new cards, because otherwise it's a very bad communication messaging on this channel. But I would just release the PDF files and then you can print and play if you want. But that's it. The regular that opens up pinhole lines. Oh shit, you're totally true. That's why we'll get the Biovault. But yeah, that was actually a really bad play because they can pinhole this. They can't pinhole these unless they have 2. They threw out a retrieval run MK Ultra. They still don't have a decoder. Oh no, they do now. They did last turn, I think. Okay, so we want to know that we have to have about 17 credits. The border control is better if we use it as a redirect. Oh, they have so many more cards in hand because of Marrow. Oh man, I was like, why isn't this hurting them so much? So I think if we do install advanced events, we go down to 14. That's enough for the Chiashi. But maybe we have to get rid of this so it plays around pinhole real bad. I think I'm more interested to get rid of this, and if they run it, we just like run it back with their second killing. I wonder if they're digging for pinhole since Rego opened that up. Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, that's not a good play. In Scarlet Keys, I'm working through Dream Meters and it's cat nonsense. Scarlet Keys is, yeah, it's in Scarlet Keys. We did the secret scenario, but we've been snowballed against so hard we barely played it. We got to an ending where we were entirely surrounded, like the most cinematic ending, and the end result was only one of us gets out, and it was me. And both my my partner and my brother-in-law were absolute heroes the whole time. It was really cool. But there's still like narrative things that I don't understand. Charizard was fun. Kitchen table friends bullied me by slotting in best defense. That I've talked about them before on the channel too, man. I hate, man, cards like best defense that just say like, oh, you're playing this engine, you lose. Can't stand them. All right, this they're running. I think here, the question is like, what resource do we use to keep them out? We are flooding up, interestingly enough. So if we res the border control, they'll probably hippo it. So I think we just need them to spend money and then we'll trade it for the Chiashi. Because here they have to spend 11. And then they have to spend 6 more from this. I think, honestly, they don't have enough money to trash Keeling. They probably have enough money to trash Biovault, though. All right, and Hippo, mind you, is a very powerful... This is one of the like standard cards you definitely have to understand exists. But if I'm not mistaken, they have exactly enough credits to trash Keeling here. So we are going to force them through. Now it costs them 10 to run it back next turn. And so we're going to just pop the Biovault here. This, mind you, there's very few upgrades in the game that are advanceable. So you can tell this is one of the like 2 cards that this makes sense. It's like Vladislavirsk, Biovault, and Defense Matrix, which it's never Defense Matrix. So this is credit perfect. So we're going to res this. We're going to end the run. And then they have to come back next turn, I think. Their hand size is at 1. So even if we just like go and get like I guess all of our things are out here. All of our anemones, they're in a bad spot. All right. And oh, we need a piece of ice here. I think we actually do simulation reset this hand because all we want is just 1 piece of ice or a Biovault. I guess the Biovault won't cut it. So we just get a piece of ice. So we'll trash our whole hand. Yeah, it's fine. We'll shuffle back in agenda. We'll get anemone, I think. If they trash it, you win with Oboe the following turn. Yeah, that is true. We probably could jam Oboe right now, but we're cowards, let's be honest. I think we're just going to do anemone. We could actually leave Oboe in the bin pretty safely. I think we are going to do that. And we'll just do these 2. And 1 more. So I'm just going to get a piece of ice just so that we have an Ag Infusion ability. Okay, good. Actually, no, that wasn't good. That was bad. We didn't get the ice we want. Let's draw once for ice. Oh, hey, perfect. Okay, so now if they run that, they die. Okay. There's probably more optimal ways to do that. I'm not an Ag Infusion master. But now they have to run this. We can either throw them onto archives or we can do 2 net damage and they die on the spot. So they have to win off centrals. There's 1 Obokata in the bin. So they have to steal 3 points off of R&D and they have to get through a magnet. It's doable. They have 1 click here. You can't run last click. They don't die here though. Overclock. Oh no, they die. Bye now. Hey, good game. Sorry about the prison. Yeah, I don't know. I really doubt the runner had fun there. I really doubt our opponent had fun. They were down to 6 cards from a 50 card deck. Hey, thanks a game. Miserable, I warned you. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But yeah, that sort of keep away is like, I don't think anyone has fun doing that. Boo, get the killing kill. Yeah, oh, Kyle. Yeah, we easily could have got the killing kill. Basically, all we do is redirect them into archives and then that's that. But yeah. Yeah, classic Decky. Scrub, how's it going? Yo, Scrub, your name keeps coming up over so much content I'm watching. I think your name shows up in like what's his name? A Kit Boga video. Yeah, you're watching some Twitch, huh? This is the beginning of Andre's villain arc. Yo, Anarcho, real talk. We used to do that where we'd like stream on a weekend and just play NPE decks. Like we would like really dive into the tank of all the stuff we generally don't play on the channel. And always had such a great time. Such a great time because you're doing NPE with friends. That's so important. Yes, I just made the most recent Kid Boga vid. Yeah, you're right. I saw it. I was like, wait, what? What's happening here? That's really weird. Andre's been the villain this whole time. He hides it well. It basically, you can tell on the costume that I show up. If I'm wearing like a dark clothes, yeah, it's generally villain arc. I have a lot of white t-shirts. We don't wear them that often. I don't think HHN murder decks are that much more fun than Aggie. I think they are much more fun because there's way more angles for that to like fall apart, for that to be correct. For that to fall apart. You can play around it a bit easier. If you get hard-hitting news, you can just clear the tags. I do think, though, it does have a huge squeeze where it's all about economy up front. Like, that's super, super important. But I think there's generally more interaction. There's definitely more interaction. We'll see. NPE with friends is a good slogan. It's on the t-shirts. We started a weekly testing with villain decks. It's great fun. Yeah, for real. Needs a fake villain mustache for sure. Bring back the competitive tab as NPE with friends. There should be an NPE tab and there's like 3 people in there, but God, they love being in there. All right, let's do some news real quick. It's getting warm in here. Norwich CO, we shouted this out. Again, this is just this weekend. It's in Norwich, Alan Partridge. The one thing that we didn't show, and Kat also sent over the image, but this is the very pretty, very rare Yakuza Orca playmat. Orca, I think it's a killer. I'm pretty sure it's a killer. It probably costs a lot. I'm not actually sure what the card does, but yeah, this playmat's lovely. Yakuza's art's really great. There's a lot of really good Yakuza art that NSG's been putting out. This is no different. So check that out. Oh, this is huge too. I got a message from Pouch. I didn't know Pouch was East Coast. But we talked about this a bit earlier in the season, but US East Coast Nationals is coming up. That's really soon, actually. So if you don't know, US East Coast Nationals is happening in Philly. It is at the end of August. For what it's worth, we're at the point where we have to start like counting how many weeks until big dates like this, because I'm starting to be a bit concerned that I think this is going to be in standard. I don't think this is going to be a new standard. I think this one is probably going to be in standard. How I'm getting to that numbers is that like spoiler week is usually 2 weeks before the stuff comes out. And then once the date of the new set comes out, it's 2 more weeks before it's tournament legal. And we're getting close to the point where that's like getting real squeaky. But if we start to hear news on Null Signal for the new set in the next week or so, I think there's a chance that this might be the big tournament. That's the first tournament in the new format. But otherwise, like, it's hard to tell what meta to prepare for. I don't know if people would be excited if it's like, oh, the new meta has been alive for 2 weeks, go, it's nationals, or whether they want more time or breathing room. So we'll find out. Reason why we bring this up, this seems like a sick event. This being run by Bushi on the East Coast. There's a lot of people showing up. The price for it is really sick. But most importantly, here on, again, links will be in the description, nearEarthHub.net, which is Bushi's platform, is doing this thing about mentor program. So in short, if you're one of the players, and we were just talking about this earlier today, if you're a player who largely plays startup or it lives in the area and wants to come out to organized play, and I promise you, like, you should come out to organized play, even if you fancy yourself to be a real bad Netrunner player, it doesn't matter. Your first round, probably going to get stomped by someone who's very nice. And then from that point on, you're going to be playing against people who have lost just as many games as you will. And that's how you meet people. That's how you make friends. Regardless if you win or not, you'll make friends, I reckon. And then you finally come to somebody who's also in the same boat as you. So a fantastic place to be. But on top of that, if you want to get a bit more information, if you want to get normalized to the standard format, you find that to be a bit intimidating, there's this program that's been up here, and which is a mentor and a mentee program. Right now, there's a really good problem that you're running into, that it looks like the folks here are being running into. They have a lot of mentors and not a lot of mentees. There's an influx of people who are really excited to sit down with you and teach you the ropes of Netrunner and figure out the game and introduce you to standard and make sure you're getting the most of your experience. That's sick, but not a lot of people are either aware or signing up for this. And I don't think that's too surprising, considering you have to kind of be plugged in to know this is happening to some extent. So we're trying to do as best a job as possible to share this to your friends, share this to your metamates. If you know there's people coming out, I don't even know. I think you could probably do this and not, like, I don't know if you have to be going to the event. Maybe you just want to learn about standard. Specifically though, if you're going to the event, hit this. It's just a form. And it just says like, yo, what up? We'll hit you up and we'll pair you with somebody and you'll meet them on Discord and you'll play a couple games together and they'll answer your questions and you'll have a buddy. You'll have a buddy system. It's a really nice way to tackle this problem. So link in the description. I'll put one in Twitch chat or in the other chat, YouTube chat, the other platform. So you can get at that. But like, yeah, it's sick. It's really good. Check that out. I got my Sunny deck prepped for nationals. I'm banking on it being the old meta, not new meta. By definition, yeah, right. Killing things? No, who could have guessed? The Orca? Oh man. All right, cool. Has anyone signed up for this on either side? I think that's a sick initiative. Really, really cool. Cool. What's next? This, real quick. Our Netrunner's back. In fact, most of the subreddits are back. And then we get this post. We're gonna do their 1 swear per night. Our Netrunner's Future Fuck Reddit edition. I think this exact same message is largely on r/Arkham Horror 2. But if you haven't, we've been talking about this. We've been covering this a bit for the last weeks. r/Netrunner has been locked out because if you haven't followed the ongoing issues with Reddit and their monetization plans with API access, and then their CEO has kind of been a shitbag pretty publicly, wildly publicly. A lot of people are pretty upset about this, and specifically moderators, people who spend a lot of time making sure this platform, this community space is as great as it can and should be. And these people are kind of getting shafted. Specifically, the moderators of our Netrunner, just like every other community, has been contacted by Reddit saying, if you don't open up back your subreddit, we are going to dispose of you and then replace you with somebody else who clearly doesn't have the same strong feelings about how things are going. So basically Lego Rockman and oh man, the name Machine, what is it? Shit. Oh man, the other person I've interacted with way more. Someone help me out here. Two moderators that I'm familiar with. Oh, I hate when I have to remember names on queue. I feel like such a dick. Unmech, yes, Mechanical. They basically came out and said, this is how it's going to be. We do not know what the future of r/Netrunner is going to look like, but for now we've opened it. However, no one can post anymore. Mileside 2 is as a mod likely, right? So yeah, this is interesting. I think there's a lot of good comments here. If you were talking about, if you have your opinions, definitely share it here. I think the big thing that I've said last week and going forward, I agree with, is that I'm totally cool moving away from Reddit, but I would rather have a forum than a Slack or Discord. I think Slack and Discord is amazing, but it's more of a chat room, a nice community place, than it is a place where people make posts that get archived, that are searchable, that can be more structured. The way that people respond to this is different. The way they respond to chat, I think, is a totally different medium. And I think there's a huge reason to have a space that is different than a chat room. Check out Green Level Clearance Discord, check out Timber Protesters, all that stuff is great. Some people are suggesting the StimHack forums. I don't know. It's not up to one person to decide what works. It's just kind of important to see where the community kind of amasses. But I don't know, for the last couple of weeks I've been feeling kind of lonely, and like I'm not joking. Like I think I've noticed that the fact that I'm not checking into like a community space like this, which is like a thing I do unfortunately reflexively throughout a day, I've been feeling that it isn't there, and I honestly kind of feel a bit lost. Lost is probably a bit extreme, but I feel like I'm a bit more alone than I used to be like 4 weeks ago before things really kind of went to shit. So yeah, I don't know. This sort of community space is so important. And I'm not talking just about myself, but it's really important for people to show up, to understand that there's literally dozens of other Netrunner players across the planet who are excited to help them out. Same for Arkham Horror and all that other stuff, right? So weird spot. Such a bummer that this place, which was a really good place for a really long time, now probably isn't going to exist anymore. And again, I want to make this very clear. I'm with the moderators here. Have them all, right? Like, this is garbage. You don't have to put up with this shit. So like, I don't think what they're doing is wrong. It is what it is. All right. If we got an excess of mentors and this is only for Nats, we should definitely take this model extended outwards. Oh, for sure. I think it should just be an ongoing thing, but that's largely what Green Level Clearance does. I just don't know how structured it is. Mileside is not a mod. Okay, that Lego mod seems pretty cool and fun and interesting person though. Discord have a forum function now? I've seen a bit of it try. How's it going? I've seen a bit of it. I don't think people use it like that, and so we'll see if it gets better, but I have seen that Discord is getting a forum type thing, and I think right now they probably have a huge incentive to fill that space. Yeah, but I doubt it's like as well fleshed out as like any existing forum that anyone can get access to. Yeah, the mentor-mentee program has existed in Netrunner for a long time. It has, yeah, no, for sure. Oh, why did I bring this up? A real quick thing. This wasn't called out, but last week we played a game in which our goal was to run HQ as many times as possible because our opponent had, we were assuming, a copy of Boom in hand. And so HQ had no ice on it. So we had to figure out how many runs we can make on HQ. We had enough money to trash this. Mind you, Boom costs 1 to trash. And our goal was to trash this by all costs. And I saw the VOD and I realized like the math that we did was fundamentally incorrect. Let's just take a second to address this to see if my math is incorrect. But in short, what we decided to do instead of just running HQ 4 times is we spent a click to install Imp. Imp is a card that I valued on that turn because when Imp is down, we know for sure one of our axes, probably our first axis, if it's not a trashable card, say an other operation, an ice, whatever, we can trash that card. And then we have more clicks to go back to ensure that we're going to see a different card. Because there's always a chance you run HQ 4 times and see the same card 3 or 4 times, right? And you want to avoid that. So my reflex was to install the Imp and then run only 3 times to see a smaller hand for the last 2 runs. You run the math, it just doesn't work out. It's actually worse to do that. So If I'm not mistaken, we want to calculate the opposite of the chance of us succeeding. So if we whiffed, that would be 3 times that we run HQ and hit the 80% chance to not see the boom. That gets to about 60% chance, like 59% chance. But the way that we did it would be a 1 in 8. And then if we trash a card, it'd be a 1 in 75 and a 1 in 75. It would be like that, I'm pretty sure, which is actually 5%, about 4% less likely. So installing the imp was actually very incorrect. We should have just ran HQ 4 times and we'd had a 5% win rate increase in that game. And that's generally how we lose that game, is by dying to boom. So that's actually really a notable increase in win rate. And I probably should have done the math before I did that. We didn't get called out in comments, so figured it out. The other thing too is, like, if you're even expecting to run HQ and trash something naturally, like say that we ran HQ on click 1 and found something that was trashable, like even if that's the case, you still don't want to install the imp. Because if we run like 4 times and get a 0.8, 0.75, that gives you to a 66% win rate, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I could be doing my math wrong. And if we do this the other way and still hit a trashable, we end up like this, which I still think is about 5% worse. Yeah, well, a bit less, but 60% worse. So 100% of the time, don't install that imp, just run HQ as many times as you can, because that additional access is definitely worth more than decreasing the size of HQ. Cool. All right. Get some water, do some math. The Discord name change sucks a bit. Yeah, I haven't too heavily followed that conversation. I know people were very negative about it. I'm not honestly sure what it did. I do think I have a unique Discord name, which is probably not a good thing for anonymity, but yeah, I know people are really upset about that. Okay, we had a circuit opener this weekend. Shout outs, we had 10 people, which was sick. We did single-sided Swiss. We ran into some issues. We discovered something that was wrong in the single-sided Swiss calculator. We told Jeff immediately fixed it. Absolutely sick. We ran into no other issues. It was fantastic. Metropolitan Grid. So I brought some really weird stuff to the event. Well, one of the weird stuff. It was a circuit opener, and I had already won the circuit opener invite. So my role was just to kind of show up and, you know, just goof around and have fun. So one thing that I brought is I brought a Hoshiko deck that was like the deck we played the week before on stream, a couple days before it, but we added 4 cards. We took out some of the worst cards from the deck. I can't quickly tell you what those ones are. And then we just added more multi-axis, because I realized one of the issues was this deck was an immense value engine, but it struggled to generate single axes or anything better than single axes. So all we did is we added 3 finality to the deck. I think we used to be on 2. We added 3, what's it called? A jailbreak. It's just good enough. And then we added a 3rd copy of our twinning. And I think those changes are amazing. It's really ridiculous to talk about how the changes to 103 card deck play out, but those felt like really good changes. I think you can definitely go smaller than 103, and I think you largely should, but 103 is a nice prime number, and that was kind of the goofy thing we wanted to do. I also double sleeved my deck, so my deck was like this tall. It's like looks really silly compared to other folks' 44 card decks or whatever, but it was a laugh, and it actually played out relatively way better than I expected it to. Fun enough, this is probably going to be the deck list of the week, maybe next week, but Jinsei won the Spanish Nationals with a 69 card Hoshiko deck. So we were seeing this sort of like 50, 52 card deck, Hoshiko decks, 59, 60, and then we're seeing a 69 card Hoshiko deck win a Nationals. So the idea that you can just play the Hoshiko value engine and just jam all the cards together and get enough card draw and just get your ratios correct kind of proves to be correct. Now, I have been testing the 103 card deck on like JNet Casual, and I'm not getting the best win rate, arguably. I think anything that's like a very fair deck, you're actually pretty okay. But then anytime you run into a deck that presents a really unfair problem, the way that people think of Netrunner, so like the deck list of the week, we're not that good into that deck because we're good at generating like just generalist value, generalist accesses, stuff like that. But when it comes down to like you need to draw your pinhole threading immediately, or like you're running into Acme and you need to find your MK Ultra sooner than you can forward to face check into a Hydra, you do run into some problems. So there's definitely some incentives to get the deck size down below 3 digits. Let's be honest. But this deck is actually like totally quite kind of reasonable, which is funny. That's really funny. Would you bring this person Nightmare to an in-person event? Oh, it was fun. Shuffling's not that bad. I have it. One second. So firstly, it's worth knowing it was bad. Oh, it was bad. Your win rate may not be good, but how good is your cube win rate? We cube really hard. We snap really, really hard here. First rule radio, no dead air. Okay, hold on. One of these is wide. Which one is the wide cam? That. Okay. So these are the deck boxes I use. They're like the really old Netrunner ones. And the deck itself takes up a whole deck box. It's double sleeved, but like it is straight up this tall. A normal Netrunner deck is like this big. So it shuffles really bad. You don't want to mulligan too often. Gachapon is a bit more annoying, but it's kind of necessary to the deck. But like heaven forbid you wouldn't want to play like self-modifying code or Cabinessa Woo if you could. So yeah, it's great, but it is goofy. Like it was kind of a fun circus. I'll do it again at any point. At any point. Oh, there's another branding. Great. Okay, now on the other side, I wanted to play some Jinteki. I was packing together my, my cards. I had some decks built up and I realized like I disassembled all my decks and I had no Jinteki decks built for a really long time. So I went kind of full evil again and I just did Bridgman style PE. So let's just go ND, I think. Animal. Specifically, there was there's always like these really nice incentives that Isaru in chat has been organizing with these events. And one of them was like, to whatever player loses the most against Jinteki, you'll get a full art Stargate. So I had some incentive to show up and play some Jinteki, which was a nice place to be. So this is Bridgman's deck, and Bridgman did a really good stream. Bridgman's channel will plug in the description below. It's really, really quite good. Mind you, I think Jinsei was on it recently playing this deck too. That was the person who just won Spanish Nationals. And this deck is just like a Jinteki deck. It's not exactly a grinder deck. It is going to score out if it can. Regenesis, I played 3 of. It's really fun. You score out Obacadas with this all the time. And stock buyback is just kind of like an addictive problem I have at this point. It's a bit absurd. And this is a really good deck, understanding going into the meta that this is a deck that has a really good win rate against folks who are not familiar how to play against this more than most other decks in the format, just because you need to prioritize your hit points. You need to respect the certain things like running archives, stuff like that. But it also is kind of fun to play because I haven't played Jinteki in a while. I did know the worst matchup that this deck has, and Bridgman's very clear about this, is that if you're expecting people to play the sort of deck that won Spanish Nationals, that heaven forbid 103 card Hoshiko deck, that is your worst matchup by a mile. Because a lot of the decks, you get to the point where they just about run out of cards and then they can't steal your stuff like Obakata. And if they have 103, let alone, I guess, 69 hit points, yeah, they generally have like 30 to 40 more cards than the hit points they need. And that's a really bad matchup because you just can't get there. Cool. This is really Andre's villain arc. I like playing these decks, unfortunately, every once in a while. So throughout the event, it was 8 rounds. We did single-side Swiss. First round I played against Steven, who's in chat, can confirm the deck was brutal. Steven very early got down his Bugalter, who's in an okay spot, and eventually just played one too many cards and got to the point where Sting got to him. I was actually really scared in the opening. I found out he was a Security Nexus deck. He lost all, and I've done this many times before playing that sort of like, Security Nexus 419 deck, is that I will always never install my Citadel Sanctuaries until I have a card in my hand it works well with. Generally, it's a rogue trading or credit kiting, and then often I'll just lose it to random net damage, and then my whole economy engine falls apart. So I just started pre-installing these even before I need them, and have been feeling good about them. Steven ended up losing 2 of these on like a bad snare, and then never was able to like translate into rogue trading, but I'll admit that he did not need the money, but he needed the money only because he was playing all his like event economy, and that was just too many hit points. Where something like rogue trading being 18 credits on a single card is kind of more what you want in the matchup. Rouge trading, that's more what you want in the matchup, so that's great. Can you dash cancel an oboe into stock buyback? Oh man, P has almost always been the deck to bring against new players. You want to win more so than if you want to keep them playing. I don't know. I feel like the P matchup with new players, I played one new player against P. They were playing Essa, and I think we both had a really fun time. They took some really, really risky accesses though, but it was fun. It gets worse. I lost my 1 Stargate. Oh yeah, you ran archives and then stole a 0-pointer because you had to and lost the Stargate and 6 cards in hand. And that Stargate would have been a real problem for sure. So yeah, I got a bit fortunate there. Round 2. I get a shuffle up the 103 cards. I'm playing against Julien, and Julien is playing, he publishes his lists. He's playing basically kind of like the Laura Asmari decks, but Julien's been playing his own version. I guess this should be up here. I can just find it. And we're at a point where he didn't go as fast as he usually does. I think it just didn't set up well. And I got my ridiculous economy engine because that Hoshiko deck is like on your start of turn triggers. You make like 5 clickless credits. You draw 3 cards. It's absurd. And he was on 6 points and I was on 6 points. And I knew that if he top decked to 15 minutes or a post-truth dividend, I lose. Because I'm pretty sure that this version that he was playing was on 1-pointers and it wasn't on Echo Chamber, like the decks that he played the CO previously. But that made sense because back then he was playing a 44 card, Asmari instead of a 49 Acme. Acme, you're generally more likely to play the 1-pointers because you have to play 20 points instead of 18 points. It's not divisible by 3. And so I got set up and I finality'd R&D, and I saw the top 5 cards of R&D, and there was no agendas there. So we're both sitting there for 6 points, understanding that there's nothing coming up the top of R&D. All the spin doctors were out, and there's 5 more minutes in the round. So literally no one could draw into agendas, and we went to time. Definitely a bummer. I think I was at the point that we're going to be in a pretty well set up to lock the top of R&D because I have all my breakers. It was really hard against this deck because I understand if I face check into an F2P or Hydra early, you're in a really bad spot. So I was super fortunate that Julien wasn't able to score out very quickly in a remote server. And I think I dealt with a daily quest early on, which was great. I think I had a lucky pinhole threading, but hey, play 103 cards, get lucky. That's pretty good. Round 3, I played against John, and this is where I think the big reason why I want to go through every round really got to me. This was the round that kind of hurt me real bad. It hurt me real bad, and I think this one kind of stuck with me for a minute. John was also in that camp of just kind of play something goofy and have fun, which was Ampere. I've barely played against Ampere. Ampere is a 45 card infinite influence, but you can only have 1 copy of each card in your deck. So it's all just kind of random, 49 random 1 of cards. And you can't really tell what they're doing. I think we've seen some notable enough Ampere decks recently in the last couple months since this has been out that have a bit more like focused plans. But it turns out John's deck was just like play the best cards through everything and then kind of get something from that. And we'll see how that works. And it's like, I'm setting up. I'm in a good spot. I got my Black Orchestra. I got my MK Ultra in the bin. I got my Black Orchestra, my Paperclip in the bin. I have an Amaku on the table. I have 2 companions dripping. I got my console. I got like a twinning ready to be charged. I'm in a good spot. I think I have like 30 credits. John also has good money. He has like 20 credits. And at some point he discards a card into archives on like turn 3, turn 4. He isn't pushing to remote server. And I just dirty laundry it because I want to get an Amakua charge. And I steal an off-world office from archives. And I think, well, that's pretty strange, isn't it? Why did he just throw out an off-world office there? Like the deck only has 1 spin doctor. It's not like it's going to be rescued anytime soon. And so I think maybe he's really flooded. I'm not sure if he mulliganed or not. And then next turn, he puts something in a remote server. I say, I'm going to run HQ. And I run HQ. And this is the second run of the game I've made. I have 4 cards in hand. And I find a Sisenton. This is the first Icy installed all game. And I die with 4 cards in hand on a face check. And this hurt so bad. I felt like I was in such a good position to be set up. I have everything. I just specifically didn't have Amaku counters for this, and I did not have my killer. But I found the 1 of Sisenton in the deck and face checked into my first dice and just died on like turn 5, turn 6, right before I spud up. It feels so bad. And this is like a really weird piece of ice that I've been kind of focused on because this card is like the only card in Netrunner that will absolutely kill you on a face check. I was playing Sisenton in my personal evolution deck that day, and you kind of expect that, right? Like that's the thing, is that it's technically less good in Jinteki because you almost always want to face check with a killer if you can. And this is like one of the weirdest cards right now in Netrunner. It's not a card that you almost ever see. In fact, most Jinteki decks don't even play it, but it's the card that can just like flatline you. I honestly don't know what the numbers are, but I was holding 2 events and then 2 non-events. I think my chance of like dying on that face check were actually really, really high. But it begs the question of like, do I want to play against Ampere when the right play is it to draw to your killer before you make a single face check? I don't think it is. I don't know, man. It really took the winds out of my sails that I made 1 run and lost the game. And there used to be cards like this in Netrunner. They're very few and far between, but we used to have like very brutal face checks in the game. Classically, the joke was turn 1, somebody installs like their console and then second click runs into a Cortex lock, takes 5 net damage. Like that was not healthy for the game. And there's even some notable decks where like people spend 2 influence to put this out of faction and would just win games on like turn 2 or turn 3 because someone had the audacity to face check. I think Quinton Smith actually from Shut Up and Sit Down had a Gagarin deck with Cortex lock in it, if I'm not mistaken. Also, Pat did at an event. I think Shinobi as a shout out is the only other deck or only other ice that could potentially face check kill. But like Shinobi has so many conditions attached. You generally need about like 19 credits on turn 1, and it doesn't really make sense. And this thing is so weird. I looked into it and like so far, this was a big thing when June, she did her like 6 staples of Netrunner of like how she's going to work on design and change Netrunner going forward. This, mind you, was in February of last year. One of the big things was to make sure that there was no ice that is face check equals GG. Ice that essentially GG the runner and face check and then completely discourages interaction. And this thing is so weird. It's trying to figure out what ice existed or exists in the game where that can happen. I think this is the only one. Right now, this probably sounds like the salty rambling of someone who just lost to like HB Snare, and that's only somewhat accurate, but it shows me where like I'm not excited about this sort of thing, where it's just like, I don't know. I feel like the face check's probably, running with 4 cards in your hand probably shouldn't kill you in Netrunner. Not that anybody gives a shit about Saisentan at all. Anyways, that's my rant. The difference between 3-net and 4-net is huge. There's no card in the history of Netrunner that will kill you with 4 cards in hand, besides Cortex Lock and this specific card. And this card is standard legal. And later today, we're just going to start playing this in NBN decks. We're just going to put this in any deck that people are not expecting to face check with Sentry, and we're probably going to get wins when people just blunder into this thing. And that's probably not good for the game, that you just ran on turn 1 into an NBN without Sentry Breaker and you lost. Now, the chance of you losing is actually, like, I think relatively high. I don't know what the math is, but if a runner has 4 cards in hand, I think the chance of them dying is incredibly high. Yeah. MPG, my kid says, hey. Oh, hey, how's it going? Putting Saisentan as Mari as we speak. Exactly. Like, Julian, I don't think it's the worst thing. It's not great. And like, once people like open deck lists, that's a problem. But like, this card means you literally cannot face check in certain situations that you could just flatline. And that probably shouldn't exist. Mind you, this card alone was also a spoiler card we had on this channel before the set came out. So like, I'm very familiar with this card, but nobody plays it. Lindsay could be a really bad early face check, worse than DNA and Shiashi. But Lindsay will never kill you. Lindsay immediately will have a horrible impact on the board, but it also costs less than, and I think that's actually a really big success of, mind you, Saisentan and Lindsay, even in Jinteki. It's a lot of times people will look at the credits the corporation has and they'll think, oh, they have less than 8 credits. That means I can face check, because 8 credits is the breakpoint in which DNA Tracker and Anansi hit you. But 7 and 5, you're not expected to hit by this. And this one won't ever kill you, but against certain archetypes like against Criminal specifically, losing the top like 5 cards of your deck can cost you the game on the spot. It's a mixture of losing the right cards you have no recursion for, like breakers, but also just suddenly you don't have enough cards to steal Obacatas. So yeah, this one kills you slower. It's really weird. The math for Saisentan is beyond my brain, because then counter effect fires in between subs and can duplicate itself, so it gets complicated. It's real weird. Yeah. Well, there's complete image, but you feel bad if you die. But so complete image requires interaction and requires setup. It's like no different than dying to punitive counterstrike. But like those are legitimate win conditions. Just face checking and dying on the spot probably shouldn't exist. I know there's a picture of a GLC of someone bravadoing into Saisentan in Mirror Morph turn 1. Yeah. And I think they might be onto something. I think another one that I'm actually struggling with that also I think kind of like violates these rules to me is this one. If this fires against a criminal, they lose the game on the spot. And they can res this for 0. Should that exist? Nobody plays this. But like, I think you just jam this into a sports metal deck and you're going to win games, especially when rotation happens and there's no more bin breakers. Like, having to respect this on a 0 res is nonsense. Does this rotate? Where's this from? No, it doesn't rotate. There's just some eyes that don't see a lot of play that I think if they start to see some play have the ridiculous blowouts that like absolutely are game winning. And like I don't know, face checks on these are so bad. They're so bad. Saisentan over send a message remote, complete image and standard procedure in hand. They can jack out though. They don't have to access. In fact, after the Saisentan, you definitely shouldn't access the send a message in remote server. On one hand, I like the jank of mill decks, but mill decks in this game go hand in hand with just painfully unfun ice. Based on it's definitely rock and hard plays. Yeah, the thing is like the cards that were like generally designed to actually be mill things like Harvester almost never caught on. Like there was a bunch of cards that came out around Side Pilana that all are about forcing the runner to draw, and they never worked. It turns out the best way to mill people is just to do damage, because not only is that mill, but they have to redraw, so it's slower, right? Tithonium specifically doesn't see play because of paperclip. Not only paperclip, but the fact that if you trash an Anarch's breakers, it's just an economic tax. It's not like a criminal where if they lose their, like, heaven forbid, their anemone and their like their Bugalter, like those don't come back. You won the game. It's great. IQ's the best mill ice. It actually is, yeah. I killed 2 hosted Trojans, Progenitor, Hive Mind, and a Turtle with this against Hive Mind Max. So yeah, that's what you want to get. I expect to see more Tithonium post-rotation. I have no doubt that this card is going to be incredibly unfair. Being able to res this for 0, there's no counterplay to that. I'm aware they have to score an agenda, but like you will sacrifice an agenda to win the game. This thing scares me. But like, I think Saisentan scares me, Tithonium scares me. And if you want to look at the history of the game, right, like check this out. If you go to Netrunner, so we want to search type ice, we want to search text damage. The amount of cards that can flatline you on face check, there's so few. There's so few cards that actually can kill you on face check. That like cards like Saisentan are very strange. Wait, Runner's installing Anemone? Progenitor Hive Mind. I probably read that wrong. I think they definitely wrote the right thing. I said the wrong thing. But like the only other one, like Merlin, can get really bad, but that's really weird. But almost none of this does more than 3 damage. Like Anansi, for as important as it is, only does 3 damage. If you have at least 2 credits, you will never die to this with 3 cards in hand. But there's nothing else that will just absolutely, well, Woodcutter does, but like, come on. Merlin could kill you. Yeah, Merlin could kill you. I've done 36 net damage Merlins. I think that's the only way that I can beat my rival from Ottawa. Like Kamainu is like the design I think Saisentan's obviously trying to replicate. Again, Man gets really angry at Cloud, starts yelling at Cloud. But Kamainu is exactly where I think the bad face check should be. It wipes your hand, but nothing else. It'll never kill you. That being said, I have died to Kamainu into House of Knights because there's a trigger before you jack out. But Saisentan becomes so bad by mid-game it's balanced for this. That's exactly it though, Daojin. It's not balanced for this. It's balanced for this if you look at Netrunner as a game of economy. It's the same way that like people say Cortex Lock is balanced because by the mid game it doesn't do anything. I'd argue that there's a good part of Cortex Lock where it's an ice that cares about how much MU you've spent, so you see people make interesting plays where they just install cards so they don't have to deal with Cortex Lock. I think that's a cool part of the game. But the fact that we have a card that's an immense blowout that can win the game on face check on turn 1, but then is useless by turn 6 is like the exact opposite of I think where Netrunner should be. We should be encouraging people to face check on turn 1, not being like, oh, don't worry, by turn 7 it's a useless card. That ain't it. Like that, I don't get that. To me, that's the exact opposite of I think how it should be. That's also where Ganked is wild. I think, yeah, Ganked fully, how's it going, is also a card that I think very easily could be problematic. And coming from someone who's like run through a DNA tracker or a Nancy and then accesses the card, it's a Ganked. Or even like Pinhole threatening to do a Ganked, like it feels so wildly unfair. It's so strange. 36 damage at once? Yes. 36 damage at once. I think, I forget what the math is. Okay, so how it works with Merlin, you can reveal a card. So, okay, so Merlin says, when the runner encounters this, you may reveal up to 2 Grail Ice from HQ. For the remainder of this run, Merlin gains a subroutines the reveal dice. So if you have 2 other Merlins, which back in the day you had this ability called Foundry that says when you res an ice, you can search for another copy of it. So if you had 1 Merlin in hand and 1 Merlin on table, you res the Merlin on the table, you found the 3rd Merlin, this Merlin has 6 net damage. Then behind it, you res at the same time this card called the Twins that says whenever the runner passes a res piece of ice and they have to pass the Merlin because it doesn't end the run, you may reveal and trash another copy of that ice from HQ to force the runner to encounter that piece that they just passed again. So you throw out one of your extra Merlins and now they're back into the Merlin. And because Merlin keeps the subroutines for the entire run, now this Merlin is 6 plus 7, 8 plus in one you reveal it's 12. And then you throw it out again, I think, and they go back into this. So it's 12 plus 2. So it's 36. Yeah, that's how you kill Lopair. And then he beat me at Canadian Nationals. So like we're even, I guess, or something. I like Cortex Locks as it's trivial to play around, but sometimes being do 3 to 6 net damage feels very mistakey. It's like trivial enough to play around, but I don't think face checks should be this bad. Like as a criminal, you can't face check into this. And back in the day, maybe it was a bit more acceptable because there was like easy ways to like have face check protection. Again, meta contingency. But yeah. There's ways. Okay, rest of the tournament, what happened then? Oh man, I played against Daojin. Daojin has a really fun deck. It's a really rough matchup for Daojin into what's it called? But this sort of deck I want to play on stream. It's really fun. So it's a tag me deck, null. Whether you need to play null or not, it's up to you. But the idea is you're getting a lot of tags because you're playing God of War. And then once you have a lot of tags, of course, you counter surveillance. But the spice for this sort of brew is that you also have by any means. Mind you, counter surveillance says you can run R&D, see like 10 cards. And then after that run, you draw 10 cards because you've accessed 10 cards and your hand size is plus 10 because you have 10 tags. But most of this rotates, which is really sad. But by any means is a priority event. So you play to start a turn and it says every card you access, you just take a meat damage and it's dead. So you run R&D, you take 10 meat damage, but you trash 10 cards. So if you do that enough times, the runner just runs out of cards. You flush HQ, stuff like that. You might be thinking, well, then you'll die. But yeah, you don't because you have Urognev Mercs, which gives you 10 meat damage protection because you have 10 tags. In fact, it gives you, I think, 13. So it's really I think, really difficult into personal evolution because you have to draw through your deck aggressively to get this down, and then you can run R&D and then trash 10 cards, but then you also have to run archives to pick up the agendas, and at that point you have so few cards left in your deck, it's near impossible. But there's probably some really fun matchups with this thing. I think it's really cool. From then, we played against Hugo, playing Essa, who's new, getting into Standard. Showed up to the last event not knowing it was Standard, and playing Essa deck. It was really fun, taking some really aggressive accesses. And then I think the second last round into Julien, playing into this deck, which is like the worst deck we can play into. It's Hoshiko with 55 cards. You don't want to play that into PE. I think he got down 3 Hippos and then DJ and DreamNet in the first top third of the deck. It was maybe we could get out of it, but we could not get something in the remote. And then last round, another emotional damage, which is this deck from Paul. Where is it? It's definitely here somewhere. I should probably just click on it here. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story, and you just chime in when you see that I've done something very, very, very embarrassingly wrong. We're playing against Pravdivos Consulting. I'm Hoshiko. I'm setting up. Pravdivos is not doing anything that aggressive. I'm running. I'm like, you can get your advancements. I don't care. Maybe it's a trap deck, but I'll eat an Urtica Cypher. I have 103 cards backing me up. We'll go into the fray. Who cares? And he's just advancing the same card on HQ over and over again. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's going to be a really big Mesvingo. I guess we're just not running HQ again. If you're not familiar, Mesvingo is a card that gets subroutines based off of how many advancements on it. And we have no way to cheat around this. We're not playing Cleaver. We're not playing Hush. We're not Femme Fatale. All Femme Fatale, don't do that. But we just given up. We're accessing, and we steal a 3-pointer. Paul is just drawing up. He's just drawing up. He's attitude adjusting back some agendas, just getting them out. I'm like, okay, maybe he's really flooded, probably really flooded, but he's not building into a remote server. Eventually puts something in a remote server. I run it. It's a pop-up window on a remote server. We keep running through remote server, trashing Spin Doctor, Rashida. Before we know it, it's turn 20. And I think, well, before it's turn 20, on turn 10, I'm thinking, oh wait, he has all these advancements on one card. Oh, this is probably a Red Planet Couriers deck. So yeah, Red Planet Couriers is a card that I've been upset on this channel before. And it says as additional cost, you spend your whole turn as a triple, and then you move all the advancements from one installed card to one card that can be advanced. So the idea is that because this takes your whole turn, you want to just get an extra click in the deck to play Biotic Labor to get a 4th click. So you do Biotic Labor, you install an agenda, and then you play Red Planet Couriers, and you move all the advancement counters from an ice or all the ice that you advanced onto one card, right? So you just move everything to one card. And back in the day, there's some really strong decks that were government takeover decks when Wayland used to have this in the format. That is a 6-point agenda. So as you know, in Wayland, it's really easy to score a hostile takeover to get to 1 point, and then you just spent the whole game doing literally nothing, just advancing all your ice, and then you go install Biotic Red Planet, and then you just won on the spot. And it's the same sort of like kind of bad feeling, maybe less bad than Saisentan, but it'd be like, oops, you lost. I have it. I've assembled my combo. And there's not that many combo decks in Netrunner that work like that. There used to be a bit more back in the day, but none that were that direct than like have 3 cards in a hand. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, he's got all these 3-pointers. Like, he can Red Planet. I don't care. It's going to take him forever. He has to Red Planet like 3 times. How's he going to win off of this? And so I'm setting up. So greedy. I'm running the remote server, barely touching the top of R&D. I get 1 card off the top. All the Spin Doctors are out. I'm setting up. My discard pile is bigger than a normal deck because I'm getting like 6 credits on the start of my turn. I'm drawing 3 times, firing 0 every turn. All my companions are there. We're all having a huge party. And Paul clearly is flooded. And I just never ran HQ. I'm like, I'm not running HQ. It's going to be like what's it called? It's going to be the thing I can't deal with. The thing that's going to have like 14 end the run subroutines. And then Paul top deck, he's like, oh, finally I got it. Biotic Labor. I'm like, what are you going to score out? Installs, moves all of them over with Red Planet Couriers. And it was in that moment where I spent the last 25 turns forgetting this was a card. This card has been around since I've ever played Netrunner for like more than a decade. And you just don't see this card anymore. This used to be like a 3 of in every NBN deck. Even if it was a blank 3/2, people would play this. And I just totally forgot that this was a card that existed. And I definitely should have spent, I don't know, like at least 30 seconds realizing that there is a card pool that's bigger. And why would Paul be doing this if this card didn't exist? And the worst part too is like I had an imp on the table with advanced and counter, like virus counters on it. Like I could have just ran HQ and trashed the Biotic or the Red Planet Couriers, but instead I sat back and did nothing. I think in a whole, this is like a problem I have where like I'm very comfortable at a tournament playing Smothering. I've talked about it with Pat. Like, I play against Pat. I don't know what his deck does. I know his deck generally has a bit of like traps to it. Like, it'll do some surprise damage. And I'll be like, I'm playing 419. I don't need to win. I just need to make sure you don't win. So I'll just deny his economy. I'll sit back. I'll generate my turtle. I'll run the remote server all the time. And I'll be like, if time is called, I'm on 5 points. You're on 2. Like, what are you going to do? And I do not push for the win, which I definitely should be doing. I had like 40 credits at this point, and I had an imp, and I just never bothered even to find out that the ice on HQ wasn't even a Misfingo. It was just an Ucket. Cost me 4 credits to break, whatever. Oh man, such a bad beat. Shout out to Paul who got the combo off. That's the only way I think this deck can win. Maybe. I don't think you can score on a remote server with this ice that easily. But yeah, that's pretty rough. Just absolutely kicking myself last round. Yeah. The thing is, NBN decks for the last like 2 years have been revolving around 5-3 agendas almost exclusively. I totally forgot that this very core NBN card existed. Ugh. Yeah, Andre, you were describing every single time I'm playing against Prov. Completely forget the Beal and RPC exists. And like, you could see the RPC from miles away. Like, you could see it, like the person next to me was like, oh, it's an RPC deck. Like, yeah, I know. And I just never, I was like, what are you going to do? Score out at Bologna? Good luck, man. Anyways, it was really fucking fun. I yelled when he scored out. I'm like, no, what? Man, it feels great. It feels great when your combo goes off, but I definitely should have not let it go off as much as I could have tried to. Who knows? I also got by this deck. Paul played it really well. Hey, Paul was just drawing too, and he's like, I can't believe you didn't run HQ, man. It was so obvious I'm flooded. I'm like, I know you're flooded. I just don't think I had to do anything. I thought you were just going to deck out. No, he was waiting for the 1 biotic, 1 red planet. I feel like I've been fumbling and losing all my games right at the end with this mistake. I'm starting to get to me. Yeah, no, Sophie, that's the opposite, right? Like, this sort of thing that happened, and like, admittedly, the Saisentan thing is nothing you can learn from. There's no learning from the Saisentan thing. Like, if you think you shouldn't face check into Ampere because they have a 1 Saisentan in their deck and you have 2 events in your hand, that's not a learning. That's where the Saisentan part hits me worse, is these are the most easy ways to like improve your game. For me, learn that Beal exists, but like more accurately, like just try and run central servers. Like, you'll win on 2 axes. Just get in there. So like, I actually really valued the games where I lose and it's very obvious what I did wrong, because that's the easiest way to get better at the game, is like just lose in very obvious ways. Oh man, I want more combos on both sides. I've had enough smoother runner. Smother runner. Yeah, I agree. I think the smother runner is also the very big thing I should learn, is that I should, but the thing is, not like, it's not only combo decks. I want better win conditions, right? Like, that's why I would rather play Stargate in every deck than play Twinning. Twinning is really good, but like, even when Stargate misses, I feel like I have control over the game, and I want more cards like that give me control over the game. I don't want to just go for single axes. Like, when a single axis costs me 6 credits, I don't feel like doing it. Like, I'm just gonna be like, I'm only gonna run the remote. I'm only gonna play control Netrunner. And that's a problem. I think that's genuinely a problem, that I don't feel like spending 6 credits to run R&D is ever worth it. Not ever. Yeah, I'm a bit of a hyperbole there, but you know what I mean. Andre, if I come to MTL and I get tickets to sit in the audience for filming an episode of Métropole Grid, yeah, for sure. The issue though is with the tickets, you have to show up really early in the morning, so you're gonna have to probably drive up the day before, but you can do it. You have to get a bit lucky. Counterpoint, if you thought it was an end, the run ice, is there downside to running it? No, Power Guy, that's the thing too. I'm like, why was I scared of a Misfingo? Like, just run into the Misfingo and it'd be like, oh, it's a Misfingo. Like, none of it made any sense. And admittedly, it was the last game of the day, so I'm going to be as harsh on myself as I should be. But like, no part of it made any sense. It was absolutely the worst play on my part. There was no reason not to face check into it. Next GNK in July 8th. Oh, Diogen, I forgot about that transition. Our next GNK is on the 8th, which is a Saturday. I'm not sure if it's a CO or a GNK. It's probably a GNK. Maybe it's a CO. Maybe we'll combine them. I don't know. But July 8th, there's no event up on Always Be Running. Also, hey, Canadian Nationals, 26th, 27th. We don't have tickets up yet. Getting frustrated, but the date is locked down. They haven't booked anything else for that space. I just want to give the ticket link. Yeah. Was it Wood Chipper? Woodcutter. Yeah, Woodcutter was the one that you didn't want to face check into. Again, good old Woodcutter. Banhar, a huge Misfingo. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. That deck actually you don't want to Banhar into. It was running like Eula. It was running Macrophage. It was a pretty good deck not to Banhar to, but like, I had no reason to. I had 41 credits. I was making so much money. It was the greediest Hoshiko deck you could possibly play. All right, let's just put Saisentan and stuff and like be happy about it. Thanks for joining me for the news section. I was like really rattled after that event. I was like, firstly, what are you doing? Secondly, Saisentan, really? Shout outs to John, the Ampere player. John's the best. No hard feelings. Woodcutter is a blank face check, and Woodcutter you cannot advance, I think, when it's not rezzed. Flashpoint going means all your icebreakers will use 1 credit to break all the subs because you're forced to pay the gateway breakers. I'm scared. Yeah, so the early advanceable ice was so bad. It was like people don't know the text. They just don't know the text on the cards because they were so bad. So like Woodcutter technically can become the most taxing ice in the game, but you see it coming. And then you just put a parasite on it because it was 2 strength. What's happening? All right. What is the faction that you most likely face check without a killer in? It's NBN, right? There's ways to advance anyway. Back then, no. Not really. Ampere is the best and not the cut. You just cannot know what type of game it has. No, but it's not. It's like Ampere is, I don't think, the best because Ampere's game plan is just like, I'm playing one of every good card. Immediately, I think there are Ampere players that can build into a win condition. It's just incredibly inconsistent. So maybe you don't know what their game plan is. And so face checking is a bit frightening, but immediately they don't know what their game plan is, which is probably a bigger issue. Very likely a bigger issue for them than you. Salvage was the worst. The Tenon disrespect? Oh yeah, Tenon could do it, and Tenon did actually play Tyrant, but like Tenon would rather play Tyrant than Woodcutter, I think. Yeah, Tenon was the only one that could advance really easily, because Tenon just advanced things if they didn't make a successful run. But like, hey, talk about win more, Tenon. Tyrant can be advanced only one rezzed, and the run for each tokens. So we have a card that does this. It's 1 less strength, but it costs 3, and it gets a free advancement token. It's called Misfingo. And like, that's not power creep. Tyrant's art was fun though. I've noted it's among the best for janky players like me. I've never seen you play Ampere or Nova Daijin. I'm actually really surprised. It seems like very much your thing. Okay. So I just want to, let's build an NBN deck that people will face check into Saisantan, so I will get like some sort of catharsis out of this whole experience. No, John was playing Apex in the CO. Yeah, John was definitely goofing around. He was like, he brought 2 decks or 4 decks, and he's like, I don't know what to play. Do I like try hard or do I goof around? And he chose the goof around plan. And I died on a face check. Corp. I think Built to Last is probably the most face check without a killer ID. Yeah, maybe. I think NBN's pretty good too for that. Like, there's some respect that people play around like Archer with Wayland, like Archer and what's it called? Stavka. But yeah, you're not wrong. So let's talk about it. Yeah, I know everyone's gonna pre-install killers. We're playing live, of course. Everyone's gonna come in with their 3 Boog altars or whatever. So in terms of like factions, it's a really interesting thing to understand. Like, okay, this is also the worst content you can possibly make because when it comes to new players learning Netrunner, you should face check. This is exactly why I'm angry at Saisantan. You should always face check. There is very few to no cards in the standard format where face checking is often worse for you than it is for the corporation. Now that is board state dependent, but that is generally a rule. Don't be scared to face check. You don't need your programs before you should run. You should be running as soon as possible, largely. But there are some additional caveats that are kind of the big reasons why this conversation is not just simply there. But if you start there, you're in a pretty good spot. So firstly, when you're playing against Jinteki, you're expecting Jinteki to play a fair bit more sentries maybe than any other faction, and their sentries very consistently do net damage. Now, that's not the problem. Like, again, if you have 4 cards in hand, you'll generally be okay. But net damage can be an issue if your deck loses a piece that's really important for them and they can't recur it. So, in fact, hey, Neon Static was talking about this recently on their last podcast. But the idea is, like, if you are holding your killer in hand and you need that killer because it's your only killer because you don't have recursion, you're playing a criminal deck, you should probably consider installing that before you start taking a risky enough face check. That's a good spot to be because if you lose that killer, you largely lose the game. So in terms of like who cares about like in what factions you're more likely to face check without a killer, Jinteki is the one faction that Saisantan doesn't feel like it's overperforming because people generally respect the killer thing before they're running. NBN has, if you play Acme, you generally do want your killer before you face check because a Hydro or an F2P are really, really bad. But against everyone else, the only sentry that you're running into is largely a Turnpike. Yeah, Acme with 10 credits. Even Acme with 4 credits. Julian, I think, what's it called? F2P is like kind of messed up. Turnpike is a very overperforming ice for what it costs, but you don't really want your breaker down to break this a lot of times because it's not generally the best thing to do. You want to figure out where this is and then ideally like botchless or do something else. But in a lot of factions, you don't want to get your MK Ultra down. Like you don't want to pre-install it. So you can face check without a killer relatively well. So I think NBN falls into that category relatively easily. Wait, do we have 2 deck builders open? What's going on? Yeah, we do. Weird. Wayland is like kind of a mixed bag. Wayland's sentries are generally going to be the ones that like trash programs. So if you're already weak to program destruction, you might respect it, but like in the early turns, you don't really expect it. So I think Wayland's like probably number 2 behind NBN. Actually, HB is probably a bit even higher than that because HB sentries, the only HB sentries that I think matter, and jump in if I forget any. I think Drafter is definitely worth respecting, but it's something people are respecting less of and less of. And it's a sentry that in the early game, if it fires on turn 1, it's usually not that bad. But if it fires on like turn 3 to 5 and actually has relevant targets, sometimes on turn 1, this doesn't do that much. Then it's a problem. Unsell, same thing. It's like in the early game, this card doesn't really do much. You can always click through the bad subroutines. You're generally running on first click anyways, because you're respecting things like Fairchild 3. Maybe that's a really nice way that we should put Saisentan in HB, because people are very likely on click 1 to face check into your ice on turn 1. I would actually think that makes sense. Run NBN Spark Agency to hurt their economy before they can install. But the thing is, like, we don't care about economy. Like, we just want them to run with few cards in hand. In fact, we'd love for them to install something and then run, right? But yeah, I don't know. Oh, why don't you play Ampere? Because I want to Saisentan all the time, and I hate playing Ampere. I don't know. I don't like playing Ampere because we don't have a win condition. If we play an HB deck, we're just playing like 3 weird ice and a good HB deck, right? Classic snare and HB mentality, exactly it. A classic HB and snare, but it should be a bit more consistent. And then we have ice that's like relatively taxing to MK Ultra. So it's either ANBN or HB. What do y'all think? I'll take any feedback. I think the build plus is interesting. CTM is hard because you only have 12 influence. Run Saisentan and AMC. That's like devious too, but like I'm going to avoid 12 influence because we still need to build a functional deck. Saisentan will be 9 of our influence. But AOT is actually like a really funny one to face check into because people do face check into this no problem. Not Thule. I think you actually can get away with Thule. Because Thule, people are only a bit adverse to face checking if there's another harmonic rezzed. So if you don't res any harmonics, they actually don't have to concern themselves with bloop. So I don't actually think there's a bad sentry check. And merely if you play harmonics and then Saisentan, yeah, they're probably going to play around it. It's PD because they got to run. I think that's a pretty good way to think about it. It's PD, they have to run. All right, we'll just build a good enough PD deck, which we haven't played PD in a long time. We're generally doing more interesting stuff. All right, let's start here. All right, 3 Saisentan. That's that. We'll get him. Go get him. Knives out. Okay, so Spin Doctor seems nice. We have 3 influence. That's gonna be a problem. Architects of Tomorrow. Yeah, no, Dave. Architects of Tomorrow is fun, but the influence goes hard. People keep their hand full against Thule. I guess yeah, they should. They probably should. Yeah, there's another reason Thule might not be the best. All right, how do you build a PD deck in 2023? 3 influence GFI. Yeah, 2 influence for GFI. I just typed in GFI. Okay. So we're not going to be playing Anoetic or Boarding Control, but that's okay. We have Saisentan. That's great. The other one I would consider playing is like Ganked. This is a reason why we want to maybe try an NBN at some point, is because you can gank it to the Saisentan, and no one's going to expect that. I don't think we play 3 GFI. It generally doesn't make any sense or more sense. So then we just play like 3 Seamless, Hedge Fund. I guess we have to like double down on Managarms. Tranquility is like a sick card. Builds the most boring HB deck. Okay, so we're going to play 1 Luminal. Of course we are. Off-worlds on 3. The agenda slot here gets a bit hard because I don't honestly know what the genuine good inclusion is. Drop 1 GFI for ganked. Yeah, and then we can play on cell too. That would make me happy. Ganked Saisentan seems like the hilarious goal. Playing an NBN, like everyone's gonna face check in this shit. Like no one expects you to play either of these things. This is the sort of thing, mind you, that you play in a tournament, you like maybe win in Swiss, you get a top cup with open deck list, and you're like, oh, you have 9 influence on a sentry. And then still, if they can't get their MK Ultra down. Mind you, they break this for 6. Like, it's not the worst. Okay, and then we just need a couple more agenda points. So we're going to need probably, maybe we can do, what's it called? An Elevagao. And that takes us to an even number, and then we can play 2 spin, not GFI for ganked. You want to drop a spin, Doctor? I don't want to. Astley rolled in Top Cut? Yeah, totally rolled. Everyone had a good time. I'm not as hot on Magnet as a lot of other people are. I've never felt like I need Magnet. The Magnets are good. People love Magnet more than I do. I don't know. I think I want to play a functional deck. And Spin Doctor is good. It accelerates us. But you want to play 1 more ganked, 1 more spin, no food? I don't know if I can do that. Don't you forget on sell? No. We'll get there. We'll get there. Our ice is really expensive. So how do you make money in this deck? I think you have to play Rashida, Regolith. I think you play Regolith. I drop sprints for spins. It's not card draw though, it's filtering. Like this is really good. Drafter needs less Sice and Ton copies. No, Drafter doesn't actually do much because like we need them to face check into Sice and Ton. So Drafter, like, I don't know, they'll see it coming. Like this doesn't do anything unless they run into it not expecting it. You know what I mean? Straight up foolish you don't take 3x magnet. People say that. And like, I'm not totally sold. Eli, give them some confidence. If you win in turn 10 turn, ignore the ESA in your head. Yeah, that's true. There's some ESA we have to play around. We're in standard. Okay. What are we missing? That's core. We need some more agendas. Let's just address that really quickly. What are we happy to get? So architect deployment test will show what we have. We can't do that. And so gank for aggravation. Yeah, we have at least one. I'm worried because these are expensive. We might not have enough. I think we do play some amount of Fairchilds. Not this one, probably the big one. I actually do like what's it called a fair bit more than Eli. I think what's his name is pretty good right now. Hagen's really good. Everyone's on Botulus and Amaku is pretty hot. So we can do like maybe that, something like that. Vitruvius is probably good enough. I don't think there's anything better in the slot. And we still have 2 more card slots. So we can just play 2 more ice because we're currently at 11. Nico, I don't know. It takes the remote server for a while. It's not the worst, but like we have to put Regolith, I think, sooner than Nico. Maybe. Hey, Weep, how's it going? Owl? I don't know if we need another sentry. We have enough sentries here. I think we should just get in some like, what's it called? Gatekeepers, maybe. That seems reasonable. Ravana, if you're taking a lot of Byroids, we're not taking too many. So far, we only have 3. Oh, and Eli 4, but like, This is fine. How's this draw? I'm worried we don't have a lot of money. I'm wondering if there's an operation we're missing. Like maybe we play 1 biotic somewhere. That's obviously terrible. Okay, we take this. We do magnet. No, I'm kidding. Kidding me? We've won the game turn 1. We do Saizentan, Rashida ganked. We win the game on the spot. They run into that. We've won. I can't believe we figured this out so fast. Okay, hold on. This, we need an ice. 13 ice seems pretty reasonable. Is it 14 ice? What do we want? Do we drop a Managarm for another ice? I think 13 to 14 is what we expect to play. Maybe we can do a Drafter because it is like another ganked target. More than it's the other target. NGO, you don't often see NGO in the PD decks because they're a bit more jammy than Install Advance. It's definitely an option. I'm worried that we don't have enough money. Drop Regolith, it's too slow. Oh, but we need them to run. And like, if you don't play Regolith, how do you get money in PD? Like, that's the biggest issue. I don't know how to get money in PD. 13 seems fine. Yeah, but the test draws have been really bad. Like, Saisenton, Hedge Fund, we put the Trank in there. Absolutely get ruined on HQ, but then they run into that, we win. I'm looking at -1 Trank. That's a really good econ card. You get money when you score off-world. I would not want to go leave home without 3 Trank. This card is absurd. Maybe it's Nico, but then like it clashes with Regolith and like Seamless. Let's try this. Let's at least try this. There's no knives in this one. I think Nico's fast in Regolith if you're putting Rego in the remote. Rego is better if you're putting it behind ice. We only put Rego behind ice. But we'll find out. I'm not too hot on Nico. I think both of them are really easy pinhole targets, but if they do that, maybe our Managarm lives. But yeah. Saisenton PD, spicy. There's no Saisentons in here. No, what are you talking about? It's not even like 1. Why would we do that? We have good HB ice. What are you talking about? Oops. There are no knives in this one. I have to change the Acme. That seems important. Is my JNet slow because I have this many decks, or is everyone's JNet just like this? And that's normal. There are no gaslights in here. Oh man. Here we go. It's HP Precision Design, right? Right? Yeah. Okay. How about some reveal the grip slots? Those don't really exist in a way that makes sense on tempo. Like back in the day, we used to have ice that was playable like slot machine. That would like be a very easy include. But if you play them, they're influence heavy because they're generally NBN cards and you don't get a lot of value from them. Like our thing a surprise. I'm so good at queue against somebody who knows what we're doing. Like, I do this off stream. I call first game. I was before I read that. Oh, never mind. What happened? Brennan, how's it going? It's a grid. Okay, that seems like a problem for our plan. Everything's a code gate deck. I guess we're just playing PD, and we have to put our Seisenton on the innermost. That's cool. I feel like we missed the goal of the assignment. All right, cool. Let's go. Yeah, it's good. It's good. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay, this hand's sick though. This hand's so sick. Best of luck. Have fun. I think we played against Alice's kit before. I'm not sure what they're doing. All right, well, new remote. Server 1, hedge. Central's open. No problem. Next turn, we ice this up and we start doing stuff. Spark, gonna pull a mass driver. When you use mass driver to break all subroutines on the piece ice during a single counter, the first 3 subroutines on the next ice you encounter this run. The first 3 subroutines? That's a weirdly specific number, Alice. That's really, really specific. Let's go find that ganked. Upset installs mass driver for 0. I've seen this card only a couple times. Okay. That's cool. It is a decoder. Not good numbers. 2 for a code gate is really bad. Beth is an okay start. All right. Well, I'm in for this regardless. So we need to bury this like super deep. So we just need to get a piece of ice on R&D. I think I want to put the unsell in the innermost. 3 subroutines. It's weird how that happens. And then we'll just get some money from this. We just don't want to leave R&D open because clearly that's where the game is. What did they see? Off of HQ Seamless. Okay, nothing learned. Put a Nazi behind your Seisenton in your PD deck. There was like a while where people were just like jamming Seisenton into NBN decks, or sorry, a Nazi into NBN decks. And I honestly think that there's a chance that Seisenton is better. We have to remember though, this cost 7 to break if they ever run into this. 7. So we just need to make sure the thing that we put in front of this is really, really expensive, but doesn't end the run. Like maybe we put an Eli, because to break this, it's a lot of money too. A lot of Seamlesses out there. Okay, we need to get something in their remote server next turn that they feel like running. Because like they have to break this with the mass driver. Oh, we went to 5 clicks. There's no way to play around that. We need money. They have good money though. Prepaid. Nice. 10 influence. We'll see where it's spent. We've seen none so far. Hagen. All right, let's go. All right, that's a play. That is a play if we've seen one. So we do hit, install, and we burn the Seamless on it, I think. This is 6 strength, 2 subroutines. That seems good. Otherwise, the Hagen will be 5 strength, 2 subroutines. We want to get this on the outermost. We don't really care if it gets... Oh, actually, we do care when this gets low strength, because then it's really easy to deal with. Ready for the all-in mass driver deck with Turbine and 1 breaker and Poison Vials and everything? Yeah, 2 for 1 subroutine is like hard to get around. That's for sure. Maybe Poison Vial does help really well. Our deck is missing the Ket Tech to prevent this. Yeah, that's true. Anytime you see a card, hold on. Where are we going? So if we res this, it costs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It costs like 9. Turbo Mass Driver is all the MU as well. I don't know what the obvious console here is, but we want to do this just to duck credits. Not that we're not going to gain credits of off-world, but this uses Kit's ability. So only 2 clicks left. So we win the game if the top card is the 1 in 35 ganked. We just kind of win the game on the spot. Now they can click through parts of this. Otherwise, if they want to break it, it's again 3 for strength, 6 for subs. So they have to let 1 sub fire again. They can just click through it. Ideally, if you want to play safely around ganked, you always want to have 1 click left, because then you can click through your way out of the gank loop. Oh, yeah, they're respecting it. They can jack out, yeah. It's if they don't jack out, but largely they should. I don't know. I don't know if Alice knows we're on 1 ganked or not. Fire all. So, could not steal trash. You may install a card from HQ Archives. Oh, that's neat. So I honestly don't know if we want this on R&D. Like, that's the weird part. Wait, sorry, wait, hold on. I did the wrong one. I'll install the regolith. This is our archives. Yeah, okay. I forgot I could do that. It's the ganked better than spin dock. You honestly might be right there. Oh, they're right, because we could install it there, but yeah, no, they just jack out. They still have a 1 in 35 of hitting the gank, but they have clicks left, so it actually doesn't do much. I'd rather them trash it, I think. Bravado. Kit deck looks really awesome until you look at the lower half of the master driver instead of the upper half. Yeah. So we talked about making art for your own set. Getting art that looks like this is hard, and that's because it's good art. But I'm struggling to get, like, how would I describe this image to like Mid-Journey to make art? I don't know how to do it. I think you can manually fire that and sell sub there. Oh, that would make sense. Yeah, just click on it. You're right. All right, we're just going to seamless this. We're maybe not even in a rush to that we have to seamless it. We don't have that many better targets for our precision design. So we're on 17. We'll return to seamless. We want the Managarm to survive. Cool art, please. Yeah, right? Bath, 5 clicks. They've been pretty good with Bath. Oh, man. 3. And this is whenever. So, like, there's some, are there some perverse incentives where you want to mass drive the mass drive thing? Oh, wait, second spark. And Golo. Okay. That had to go through a lot of cards to get there, but now that's their whole MU. So now they have another way to panic to deal with the Saisentan. It'll cost them 5. We have to really get the foot down on the pedal here. This was not the sort of deck we wanted to play into, because I don't think we're going to get to res the Saisentan. Maker's Eye. Well, that's expensive. How do you deal with that? That's really expensive. Here the ganked hit's really bad if they click through one of them. Oh, it's only 5 because they don't have to paint. That's still really expensive. That's good for them, though. It locks the top of the deck at a point where it's really important to lock the top of the deck. All right. So Vitruvius and then 2 unknowns. So we're going to mandatory 1. Okay, we have a huge window here to draw. So they know this card. They couldn't trash that. Oh, that could have been ganked. They had a click left, though, but that could have been a gank. So we just got a new remote. We just need to draw an agenda because we have a huge window here. Okay. No window. So we're going to do the only thing that we know how to do. Oh, no, they break this for 3 credits. Oh, that's really ugly. I guess we put this in R&D. We try to play something cool. We get kitted out. That's okay. The one way we have out of here is that their economy probably can't afford 7 credits to see 3 cards. It's not the worst, but we need to see more economy coming out from them. Gatekeeper. Oh, this was a really big thing I wanted to shout out from the CO, because not only did I see my opponents do it a lot, I know I did it in 1 or 2 games. It's very hard. Our opponent hasn't done this yet, but if there's a spin doctor on the table and there's face down cards in archives, you have a huge incentive to run archives or spin doctor before you access R&D. I did this once and really kicked myself for it, where I knew there was agendas in archives. I ran R&D and I'm like, oh crap. And well, there's some reason that you want to run R&D, run archives, run R&D. That's usually not affordable. But the idea is that there's agendas in archives. So like at one point I had 2 Obacadas out of the deck, and then if a runner's running R&D, they're trying to win the game when we have 14 agenda points in R&D instead of 20. It's so much in your best interest to make sure the agendas are in R&D if you're running R&D. Let alone if you're trying to lock the top of the deck, I can just shuffle Spin Doctor and then draw an unknown card. So there's so many incentives where you want to make sure you're targeting the Spin Dock if you're trying to win on R&D while there is face downs in archives. It's very easy to mess that up. All right, we need to draw an agenda. Or like all the Saisentans we have, I guess. If we draw into an agenda again with 9 credits, I don't know how far they go. We can draw once. All right, I'm more interested in the Managarm here. Actually, maybe we're more interested in this because it's free card draw clicklessly. Yeah, that seems good. Hagen, 6 hand size. Yeah, Trank is going to be clickless card draw. That's good. All right, Diesel Beth has been on 5 click. I wonder if we should have res this to duck it, but then they just get a card draw anyways, which is probably what they want to do. But yeah, Beth cares about 15, 10, and 5 is the breakpoints. So making sure you can duck, sometimes just resing stuff, boosting ugly into traces. Yo, Alec, how's it going? Hi, Andre, hi, friends. How you doing? So it's a Maker's Eye. So this is where the math gets really ugly. So thinking. So either they spend 5 on this, or we res the Fairchild. They have to spend 5 on that, and then they spend They have to Ngolo paint this. I'm just wondering, is it ever right? No. If they Fairchild this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then they break the Unsell for free, there's a chance, because we have 2 big ice here, that the right play is actually to mass driver the ice. Because otherwise, this is 5, and then this is paint, boost. It's cheaper to use the mass driver here. Yeah, I think it is cheaper to mass drive this. So we have to do the math, right? Because either they double Ngolo, but no, they're paying 10 and they get through 2 ice. Obviously expensive, but they're seeing unknown cards here. This is really bad for us. Like, they're running with the Maker's Eyes at exactly the right points. So mass driver has they're not going to resolve. Spin? I don't think we spin here. I think we want to spin after so we can draw into unknown cards. Because I don't think we have anything to spin back. Like, adding these 2 cards to the deck is less important than being able to break lock next turn. Because I think we spin after the axis. Food? Okay. So they know the next 2. And they're on no points, right? So, like, we have the biggest window here, and then we need to break the lock. I don't think I've ever seen Mass Driver. Yeah, I know. It's actually really good. Go French Mash Blade. How's it going, by the way? I've also never seen it feel good. As much as 10 for 2 ice. These 2 ice, 10 is fair. All right, we're going to shuffle this now. I think we just want the hedge fund in there. I don't think we want to put the Hagen in. So now we can draw an unknown card. Okay. So we're going to start by resing the Trank. We have 10 credits, not the most. We still have this for money. So we'll install this in server 1 to draw a card. Okay, I guess we start there. They know what this is, so it's like clicking for a credit. They get a free card draw from Beth. But like, if they just get one more Maker's Eye, I think we lose. We're lucky that we're on the food there. If that was a real 3-pointer, we'd be sweating it. But we just haven't drawn into an agenda. Just haven't drawn into an agenda. How bad was the gank there? I think a gank was actually game winning. Harmony. Oh, man. Value based. So they paid 1 for this. So they're going to shuffle 5 cards back in their stack. The chance of this impacting the game is like, I don't know. I don't like this card at all. But they're definitely going to put a Maker's Eye there. Yeah, they put a Bravado. Okay. But it's like, I don't know. I think you just have cards of that quality in your deck. You'd rather draw into them than spend a credit and your prepaid doing nothing tempo positive. Yeah. So now we have a window here. Also, because they have the food, we really need to draw the 1-pointer to have a chance to close the game. Because otherwise we're going to have to score at 4. And we have no Biotic, so we have to score in a remote server. All right, they threw out a Spark. All right, Rashida. Draw 3, gain 3. Okay. That is 1 too many agendas. If we keep this in hand, it does help them win. I think we just definitely jam this. If we had a Biotic, I would install this Biotic and then score out the Elevagao. No joke. The Finley Eagle was with this deck. We spent 10. Yeah, I don't know. This stuff is expensive. So here we ice HQ. I think we're just going to get the Sice on Tom there. They know we have it. Pure event economy is not sustainable. It's to like some extent, but like Harmony AR Therapy, I don't think is what like you wanted that turn. I think pure economy, event economy is doable. Okay, Managram, we could put this on R&D. We probably should. I think that's one of the angles we lose. 15 cards is more than enough that we need here. We'll get rid of the Tranquility. Okay. So if they ever run into this with fewer than, I don't know. It won't even flatline. It'll be fun though. But they need to respect the face checks now. So the first ice they encounter is going to be a code gate. So when they run into this thing, yeah, it does 3 net damage. We know they're on event economy, so like maybe that'll connect a bit more. I think Shaper, you generally will still call event. Checking archives here, I like it. I think that's just a cheeky check. I don't know if we're gonna see like a Tapeworm or something. But we did draw a lot, so sometimes you want to check the bin there. Mystic. Cool. All right, I guess we'll seamless this out. Next turn, we'll probably score out the Elevagao. Oh, wait, we could double seamless. I think we should double seamless. Because we're not going to need 2 more seamless here. Ah, shit. Okay, so hold on. I messed this up. I can't do another click, so I'm going to give myself a credit. I'm going to give myself a click, and we're just going to double seamless this. We have 5 advancements. It doesn't actually change anything. So we're going to do off-world to get the money. We're going to add a card from archives. We're going to get 1 seamless back so we can score out a 4-2. And then we're just going to get the Ella Begao in their remote server. So this is really important. Because that's safer than HQ. Here, I don't think we want to draw a card necessarily into a Saisentan that they can break. So we're just going to get 2 credits. The money doesn't matter. But the idea is that we want to top deck another agenda so we can score this. And then next turn, if we top deck a Vitruvius or a Luminel, put in their remote server. Or let alone a 4-2, the last off-world. Yeah, making sure we're getting the Tranquility is also nice, but like we want to make sure that we're not just sitting there holding an agenda in hand. So we're very easy able to tempo out double seamless on that agenda. Oh yeah, Mystic, event economy. Let's go. It's like a prepaid. All right, Onacom, that actually deals with the Saisentan really well. All right, so we can do advance. We have nothing to put in the remote server. I think we still draw once here. Okay. So we could de-res something. We're not going to do. We'll use PD. We'll add a card back. I guess Biotic. Sorry, Seamless. I would love a 1 Biotic in the deck. Rashida's probably it. And we can de-res a card if we'd like. We have no real incentive to do that. End turn. It's funny, Magnet's actually pretty taxing. This is also 4 strength. It's pretty taxing. Probably don't need another one of those. And we'll get rid of... I actually think the Gatekeeper's really good. It costs 4. Another Harmony. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the amount of... Overall, this has very little impact on your deck, right? Like, you're going from 25 cards to 30 cards. Yeah, I don't like this card. It is super tempo negative. And it only matters if you're playing, like, a really long game where the hit points matter and you're going to play most of your deck. Like, you're generally better off just drawing cards. All this talk of Eventicon brings back prepaid Kate nostalgia. Yeah, that card was really important. And that's why like cards like this seem important into the event-based economy. We're going to res that just so that they spend some amount of money here. Is that like, the prepaid Kate decks needed that card, Levy AR Lab Access, that put their deck back in. But that was an important card because it did their whole deck when they needed it, let alone it was actually a card draw event. Ready and waiting. Yeah, so this is not Levy AR Lab Access. But this deck is trying to be close to it, which is like a really fun deck for sure. Ah, Spin Doctor, that's a bad hit. Because that was 3 card draw. If they trash it here. Yeah, that was 3 card draw. And we just need a top deck and agenda there, so we definitely wanted that. Okay. All right. We just put Vitruvius in the remote server. And that should be it. So here we're getting 2 credits. So this seems pretty good. We have 2 more installs. So we can just, what do we need to resolve this? 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So this is the code gate. It's 6 strength. I think that's going to hold. They have 5 credits. So if anything, we have to not lose to a Hail Mary run on R&D. So it's really weird because the economy of like how to deal around Mass Driver is like very complicated. It's really, really complicated. I think another Fairchild on R&D makes sense, but barely. Because like imagine we put, like the math is so difficult. Imagine we put a magnet there, right? So then they Mass Driver the magnet for 4, which means they don't have to break the Fairchild. But then that means that they have to actually end up Engoloing the Oncel. So trying to figure out what is like the install pattern that makes the most sense is pretty wild. To figure out what's more taxing, because like every break and install, there's like 3 options how to deal with it. All right, they have 2 clicks left. That should probably be it. I played a bunch of prepaid voice pad Kate this week. It's pretty nuts. It's a really fun deck. And like I'm super glad that like the ESA decks are kind of similar to that. Like the event economy is actually like doable. All right, good game. Super cool to Mass Driver drive through things. All right. I don't think our Saisentan had any chance of firing in that match, but we were okay at putting pressure in the remote server. Seems all right. It seems okay. It seems reasonable. Yeah, I think if they just spend less time like playing this card and just like drawing through their deck and playing more economy, like there's a lot of clicks lost to this. And credits. Like that's 4 credits and 2 clicks lost. Oh, neat. Yeah, neat. Right on. I think I've played against you with this deck. Yeah, so they have Imbrissificator. That's a really cool one. It allows them, when they break all, to move ice around. I think there's probably some argument that it's 3 decoders is maybe 1 too many. So figuring out which is the 2 best Maybe you have some toolbox here, but I guess with Spark, you just get what you get. Cool. Let's do another one. How are we doing on time? Lots of time. Lots of time. It's a holiday tomorrow in Quebec. We got a long weekend. Well, thanks for the game. Cool. Let's do it. Ooh, people are playing Eternal. Work court. You gotta live the pad lifestyle. Yeah. Hey, Pat having Fridays off. That's 6, right? That's a memorable thing. All right, Sable. See how early the Bugalter, the revolver, comes down. All right. So against Sable, you generally want to ice up centrals, which is really good because there's a huge incentive for Sable to be face checking their game. All right. It looks like they know what we're up to. Best of luck. Have fun. We'll see how quickly they face check into that, or they just installed Bugalter and we feel really bad. Hey, Changeling, how's it going? How's your week? We're going to mulligan this. It's like not a bad hand. We definitely have an ice for HQ, which is a good spot, but you know what we're trying to do here. That is probably a fair bit worse. At least we have a spin doctor. A day off sounds nice. I have to push a project across the finish line tomorrow. Oh, is it like an exciting point or like a stressful point? Like, this hand's awful. We can fix most of it though. All right, I think we just ice up HQ and then hold on to this hand. If they trash the spin, we have another spin, but like that's a pretty bad start. Archives mark. I think that's probably the best option. This run is for Tapworm? Or just because you can? Armin turn 1. Come on. Come on. Click 2, Carmen. All right. Yeah. That's the one you pre-install against HB. What's happening? My hypothesis is so far from correct. It's just annoying, TBH. All right. Well, so much for Assassin Done. Missed most of the streams, just about done. No, Neon, we got like an hour left. How you doing? I listened to the podcast. I liked the episode. You talked about Ice Hedge Fund. Do you want to talk about that one? Because I think I have a bit of a different opinion. But it was real. I enjoyed that episode. I like that. Like, generally when all y'all discuss like an idea about the game, generally one person at least, and I'm not familiar by names for voice yet. It's not a thing I'm really good at. Someone has a dissenting opinion and expresses it, and it generally convinces the crowd, and I like that. I think you have enough people on the channel that you get that, which is great. Okay, so early Carmen, that's obviously very bad, considering what we're trying to do here. They didn't contest the spin doctor. They know we have a magnet. I think we're just going to leave R&D open. The math for the on-sell is not very good. It's like 5. Not that we want to res it. I think we're going to push this out. So I think we just do install credit. We're going to need some money. We're threatening to res 9 credits worth of ice. So we need to make sure we have some money up front. Thanks. Yeah, I want to hear opinions. Okay, so Neostatic just put an episode talking about ice. And so they talked about like what ice you should know in the startup faction, stuff like that. And maybe this is because I should think of this as that angle when it comes to startup. They said at the start, ice up R&D, ice up HQ, play hedge fund is like the most important thing. I would argue, and I actually think in like immediate hindsight, this is a stand-up versus startup thing. They found size in time. Is that so much that play pattern of icing up both centrals and playing hedge fund is actually incredibly uncommon in startup or in standard. More often than not, you'll see plays like this. Like in standard, much more consistently getting something in their remote server going on their early turn, especially because we have things like Rashida. I guess Gaslight exists in standard. That is much more important. We're having an open R&D and having the runner spend a click if they don't have an on-tempo way of something like, Dirty Laundry or like Hoshiko, which doesn't exist. At least one of those doesn't exist really in startup. Having them take a punt at a 1 in 4, or it's generally a 1 in 5, pretty consistently in startup on an access on R&D is like totally worth ensuring you have something in a remote server. I do think that's a startup versus standard thing though, that I'm interested to see how you change opinion maybe on that. Oh, they lost a sneak door. That seems really important. Ice HQ, Ice remote, install remote. Yeah, that's way more common in standard. Ice HQ or Ice R&D based on your hand and based if you're playing against criminal. But I think it's a startup and standard thing. I think it comes up in the podcast. There's my text. Yeah, I 4 to 5 times I'll start that way. To be clear, Ice Hedge Fund was 2 things being iced, not necessarily HQ and R&D specifically. Oh, but the conversation seemed to be like, I don't want to let them in on central servers on turn 1, which like, I think letting people in on central servers is like way reasonable. deck dependent. But it might be a startup versus standard thing. Okay, we have a Trank. They know we have a Sice and Ton. We have enough ice for all centrals, which is generally how you want to choke out Sable. They have some good incentives to run HQ this turn. I do think we'd rather double ice HQ and single ice R&D, seeing that the Sneak Door is out. So Sice and Ton is going to be very expensive. So what is our turn? It's probably ice hedge fund. I really want to get the Trank cooking, but like I don't think we're going to have these two ice and HQ, and they'll definitely poke Fairchild 3 here. And I think we need ice up R&D. They're getting free accesses. So if we do Eli, that's really good because if they click through it, they're in a good spot. Resing this paying 5 for 3 is a bad exchange. Let's not get that twisted. And either we credit or hedge fund. We have 6 hand size, but we're going to need the money up front. Yeah, standard almost always ignores R&D. Yeah, that's also like a poisonous thing about standard, where standard has so many 5-3 agendas that you can't or don't want to score on turn 1 that like you can leave R&D open. It's totally fine. Concerto. Okay, they have a Kratz Cradle. They Concerto into R&D. They hit a career fair. All right. Love getting no benefit. So this is a Fairchild 3 hit. What do they do? Click 1, install the Cat's Cradle. Gambling, don't do it. Okay, so we just res the Fairchild 3 for 7, and then it connects. And the Fairchild 3, we will end the run, but that is disastrous because they have to trash one of their installed cards. This is a really important card to be shouted out in standard. Fairchild 3 is the only 3.0 buy ride, so you spend 3 clicks or you spend no clicks at all. And the subroutines on this are massive. This card was banned for a fair period of time. Fire all. Cool. So their choice. Pay 3 to trash one of their installed cards is their choice. Which card. And then it's a core damage or end the run. So now they did trash one of their installed cards. Probably the Wake here. And we're going to end the run just because we're holding agendas. And the core damage is not that important. Yeah. I find it funny too, Erica's listening, right? The idea of like winning a game against Andre is, man, you're putting too much pressure on me, man. I lose games all the time. All right, okay. So they can get through the Magnet. It costs 3. We probably want to force them through it once so we can do like draw hedge fund Trank. Our centrals are in a really good spot right now, and they can't afford to face check into the Sice and Ton. Is Regulus better than Trank? I think they're probably on an inside job or something. Chezos haven't come down. Their economy is absolutely gutted. They need a Carpe Diem. I'm not that interested in putting it on sell in archives. If it connects, they'll probably click through it. I think we'll do the Trank here. We'll push out from there. A badge of honor, but yet I get it. Does Sice and Ton work better with core? Technically, yeah. But the access there was probably a bit worse from this. But yeah, with core damage, it's a bit more consistent for sure. I just, I don't want to lose agendas. On topic of ice, I'm curious if you or the stream they listened thought we missed major ice. In startup, probably not. In standard, the ice pool is massive. I don't know. Were you trying to cover all standard? Because you mostly hit like the startup staples. I think Palisade, for what it's worth, is like pretty good in startup. I think Palisade is a bit better than it looks. Okay, they're going pretty slow. Then I think we can do the greed angle. They have an info bounty, so now we really do want ice on archive. So I'm gonna res this for a card draw. Some regrets. So we really need to push into remote server next turn. I think we can ice up archives. I think we really have to afford to. So now we can either res this to show it what this is. I generally don't like doing that because like we basically res this and then take 3 off of it. So it's akin of clicking for credit, but we give them full information. Now this board is not that easy to pinhole threading. So I think we can go away and do it. We just need to empty this thing. More important than keep the secret because I don't think they're running it. Most of the big league stuff they should be aware of. Yeah, I think that's a really good spot to be in. I think when you come to standard, it's like a bit bigger. You mentioned border control for sure. I think in standard, the ones you have to really worry about are Fairchild 3, border control, and NBN. It's mostly startup cards. I think that matters, specifically on matchup dependent things. And then Jinteki, like Anansi, is really important to know. DNA tracker is somewhat important to know. But generally, if you respect one, you respect the other. No, I think it's a good spot. Hey, Ryan, even if you're the best Netrunner player ever, I imagine you'll lose a solid number of games just to variance, stuff out of your control. I appreciate it, Ryan. Shit, we really want to score out here. Yeah, I think that's largely correct. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think people definitely want to win a game against me to some extent, which like, I lose games all the time. I don't know. There's always some pressure to like win for sure. I like winning. Everyone does. Okay, we need to fix our hand or we need to jam. They have 9 credits. They can definitely contest this. So we want to get a Managarm. We want to get another ice. So I think here we shuffle the hedge funds back in. And then we try and fix our hand. We want another piece of ice. Magnet is not that taxing. We can get that on server 2. And then next turn, hopefully we top deck something we jam. We didn't put something in there. Depending on the meta, things like Loki are important to know. Loki is like important to know the same way that like just the archetype is worth knowing, right? Like, I don't know. Gatekeeper is worth knowing. Yeah, Hagen's worth knowing for sure. Drafter is worth knowing, but like now we're just naming every HB ice. In Wayland, like the ice you want to know is also matchup dependent. Like the outfit ice is worth knowing because outfit is, you know, some amount of the meta. I mostly wanted my Isowak deck to do a thing. I also recognized that you were on a deck that you were actively talking about how it felt underpowered. Oh, what's really funny too is, Eric, like I know you've been grinding Isowak and then you come to like devastating conclusions where you're like, it fundamentally doesn't work. And I think that's more of like a Jinteki thing, sort of, to some extent. I'm not hot on Isowak. I think there's probably something there. But it's like, I don't know. In some ways it's cathartic to understand that. Not that you should give up on Isowak, but like we've all been there where you try something at some point you give up and that's fine. Like you revisit it when new cards come out and maybe it's there. There's some value to jamming the same thing over and over again until you figure out something and you become the expert on it. Like, don't get me wrong. All right, we just need money. They're going to face check into stuff. We can throw out an agenda, no problem. And now they're like so much of their, it's all just run-based economy. They can't run. It's illegal. Running illegal. Okay. It's so much fun, but yeah, I know. Yeah, that's like the kind of the thing that happens, right? Like you net deck a deck that's like straightforward enough to play that feels powerful. And then you play a game with it after you've been like grinding your own jank for a while or whatever. And then you realize like, wait, I feel powerful. I have lions. I can make the opponent interact with me or forced to respond to me. I control the narrative. And that is so good. Oh, this run's free. Like you love to see that. I've also not been able to make Isowak work. Yo, Diogene can't. Diogene is not for lack of trying. Fire all? What? No, you can break it. Are you sure you don't want to break that? It costs 3 credits. You don't want to flatline potentially? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. The fire all prompt got me confused. Isowak needs another 2-0 agenda. I'd argue, I don't know if that's actually going to help. Scoring an additional point safely for Isowak is like probably not the thing you want to do. Obviously getting something that advances that aren't advancing is like incredibly important. Something to discard an agenda to do. Yo, the amount of like respect you have to put into Regenesis is like really important when playing against Jinteki as general. I think it's neat. I saw your call for help, Diogene. I'm trying to make this a deck dive-esque video on the deck I've been working on. Oh, super cool. All right, there's 6 credits. This is not a strong server, let's be honest. So I'm considering just like Eleva Gowing on top of this to de-res the Spin Doctor. It always feels nice when you can do it. We do want to make sure they keep them out. We get some additional value. PD, we can recur something. I think the Rashida is probably better. I'm not sure why we discarded her. Well, de-res the Spin Doctor. We'll discard this third. Finally, an agenda. Yeah, we're totally flooded. Come on, come HQ. Isowak needs a good way to score Jumon. Well, every deck does. Yeah, that's the issue. It's like I don't think a lot of people play Isowak as like a trap threat deck. And then I think largely the idea is that if you want to just do install advance naked, do you want to run it? You're probably better off playing Personal Evolution. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep the what's it called? The Sable engine out. Scoring a secondary. That's kind of how I play against Sable. Is like if you just can kind of smother their economy. We talked about how smother Netrunner is probably not the best way to play it. Yeah. Score Jumon with Genesis. Yeah, for what it's worth, Cror is totally right. Happy birthday, Cror. That's like the best way to score Jumon we've ever had. Oh, besides the console. Or what's it called? The current that allowed you to just get Jumon. Jumon's variance is through the roof. Yeah, but you're playing Jinteki. You're playing Trap Jinteki. You love variance. All right, so here you go. This is why you want to double ice everything. So now this is like a pretty affordable run. We just need to get a second ice there, and this starts to fall apart. We also are holding most of the agendas in the deck, so the access itself is not that great. But they break this for 1. They get back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That might be an issue we need to address. What? They give us a little damage? Oh, wait, they died a ganked here. I feel like have happened like that. What happened? How we win? What happened? How? Is it recursive? Is this recursive? Whenever you trash a card of the type with net damage from a subroutine on this ice, do a net damage. So the first net damage can only cause a second net damage. It can't cause a third damage. They broke it, right? Yeah. I wonder. That's weird. Check when they broke. Yeah, let's check. I want to undo click. So they encountered. They Chesvad to break Sentry subroutine on Saisantan. Named event. Fired. It seems above board. Nah, you totally. Just do a / undo click. Yeah, we'll just click on it and hit fire 1 sub. That definitely should have not done that, but no idea why that did that. It didn't move to encounter? Wait, what? But it says it is encountering. Maybe because they did it before I picked the type. Maybe. Yeah, because we named event late, you think? I might have done the on encounter and triggered. Oh no, just come on back and break normally. I can manually fire 1 sub by clicking on the ice. No big deal. Yeah, you're right. The choice of event paused the movement. But if I'm just a bit more responsive to that, that should work. But I'll just click on 1 subroutine. No reason to maybe do that again. But we kind of want to check for science. All right. I didn't see what their hand was. Yeah, this seems right. This seems like it should work. Yeah, when you see this X'd out, you know it's correct. Boop. They just lost the Zenith. No, it's all good. All good. I want very badly for Jaina to have a let's play another game button or command. Yeah, it would be sick. Or like flip sides buttons. There'd be a lot of cool stuff there. All right, if they hit the gank, they lose. Come on, 1 have ganked. Oh no, they get money up front, don't they? That's if Vitruvius instead. Oh man, it feels bad. Oh, they didn't red team. Yeah. I think you missed the red. Wanna gain 3 and take 3 off of the red? Oh, / clear 1. Yeah, that's an important one. Cool. Hey, Mondragon, since breaking happens during encounter stuff, Saisantan encounters should trigger before breaking subs. Yes, I did. I just didn't understand why if we did it after and they broke subs, it shouldn't. Like, why wouldn't it work? Obviously, that's wrong. I just didn't see why it would matter. Yeah. Yeah. / counter credit 9. Then click on it. Ah, shit. Counter credit 9. Might be. Only no hyphens. Hyphens undo done. All right, we need a second piece of ice there. Are we going to pay 4 for this Mega Net? Maybe. Back on track. We got a startup CO happening on Sunday here in New Hampshire. Got to decide the Corp deck to play. What are your considerations when you're picking up Corp deck and startup? I'm like pretty far removed from Corp decks. Oh, this seems like it'll be probably pretty bad for them. That cost them all their money. Type/clear win. Oh, they have to do it too? Oh, Crow, that's what you were saying. Oh, they both have to do it. That makes way more sense. Nice. Nice. That's cool. Nice. Thanks. Thanks, Crow. Jakar's judge mode showed up. Judge mode jumped in, jumps onto the front line. I can fix this. I appreciate it. I'm torn between my deck from the latest CO and going with something janky. Just play Rig Shooter Up. I want to play more Rig Shooter Up. I feel like people don't like that one. So they cannot steal or trash. It's a funny subroutine because this Vitruvius is entirely safe now. That's really funny. They fired that, right? Yeah, so they can't steal the one agenda in here. I've never seen that happen before. I've never seen on sell protect an agenda in archives. I mostly want to play cards that aren't available in standard, I guess. Might want to play a Thule Nani deck. Oh, just because of non-civic. Nice. Decides not to pay to steal. That's a really funny way to word that. Okay, so we need to keep them out of centrals. That's more important than winning. Well, I smell a spin. They know this is a spin. I derezzed it. Okay. So the problem is like this remote server is not very good. But this is good. Gain 2. I think we're happy with this. They can maybe get 1 run on HQ. So I think we're more likely to want to get the drafter here. Drafter is really bad for Carmen. You're paying 3. So we'll put that on R&D. We'll put this on archives. We only res this if we need to because it costs 4. We'll go from there. Is that the on sell to kill boats and start is my favorite? I've never fired that one myself. I know it's like one of the only ways to do that in the format. But like half run, you don't, I guess you don't have a virus, which is like important. But I do like myself some op and startup more than I thought I would. All right. Well, if we pay that, we go down to 6. That's enough. And so this is kind of expensive. This is 3. So it uses most of their Chesva and then it's more for the on sell. How do they deal with this? Like, even if it was just the on sell, oh, they're breaking for this. There's no way that this is worth the money. Like, this run is so expensive. Right? Like, that was 3, immediately the Chesva credits. Then this is 5. So we're spending 8. 2, that's house money. So we're spending 6 to gain 3, 4, 5, 6 clicklessly. Oh, hold on. Oh, a spin doctor. Oh, wait. Sorry. I forgot to spin. Oh, man. I was too focused on the math. Yeah, they knew we had this. That was a very unforced error. Should I do then? Let me see if I can just recover it. Seems fine. Should be fine. Maybe I'll break the game. Yeah, so the last window is there before they say access. This game is a mess. Hey, take offense to that, Crow. You got to come in and give warnings. Let's see what happens. Where's the K? Sick. Okay. Yeah, this is a mess. It's hey, it's our 10-1 game. It gets real sloppy real quick. All right, they made us spend money. They went in pretty hard there. We can still res everything that matters. This Rashida is doing pretty well. These sort of decks too, like they have such a bigger incentive to run centrals that probably your remote server is a bit safer than you think it is. I'm just like so worried about like a boomerang or something like this. Wait, how do they run this? Or they barely have enough money. They can spend all their money on their Fairchild. So I guess we'll res the Eli, whatever. We have a Rashida to recover here. Our economy's not great. We probably have to like do a regolith. But like they would beat every single credit. The thing is like it's worth it to run HQ. If they're reading our hand. The one breaker I don't got. Yeah, well, you can click through this. Well, I didn't click through this one. This one I think is a good run. You click through the Eli and then you break all your money on Fairchild. You gain back 3, 4 off of the Penny Shaver. I think that one's actually a good run. So we got to think here, like if we res this drafter, it's not like we can res the remote server anyway. So if we lose the Rashida, we're in a bad spot. I was talking about Andre able to play Netrunner of all games while talking on and off topic while reading chat, and sometimes with Pat. Sometimes with Pat is incredibly accurate. This fires are in a good spot. This cost 5, and then this costs 3. They're spending so much money for wild single accesses. Event, really quickly. So the fact that sometimes the game gets messy makes me feel better. I'd play a lot better when I'm not streaming, but hey, so does everyone. That being said, though, you do play better when you verbalize what you're doing. Like, just in general. What's happening? How do they keep doing that? We're sitting here holding 6 points in hand, and every single off of R&D has been a sick rip. This is worrisome for us. Deep dive? They can't really deep dive on this board. But yeah, we haven't seen enough influence. I do think deep dive is very likely what's going to happen to us. They're very good. They are absolutely cooking us. All right. So they won't have the money to deep dive for a long time. Server 2, gain 2. We definitely want to get this one done. Off-world opposite would be good too. But if we get the luminal, then we can transition to a regolith, which is probably pretty important. Otherwise, we could do the off-world. I'm going to do the luminal. Here we can just do a credit, I think. Spin Doctor in the remote server is also fine. No, I think the credit's a bit more important. Okay, we have to discard some cards here. Regulus is nice. Let's get rid of the ice. I can't afford it. Yeah, their rips have been absurdly good. Like, they spent like 8 credits to get single off of R&D. They got 3 back, but like 4 back? Maybe that doesn't sound that bad. I think I'll happily seamless out the luminal. See, this deck is the same as it is in standard, or in startup, excuse me, right? Like, you have slightly different ice. Slice some time. I missed the deck build. What's the hook for this deck? Hold on for a second. I feel like my red team ran out early. I think it only made 3 successful runs. Let's check. Neon, it is playing Sai Santan as a face check that'll win the game on the spot. But it's just PD seamless, but 9 influence on a face check that people are not expecting that will win the game. The problem is, like, we played against 2 people that know what we're playing, and they played Carmen on click 2, so like, whoops. But generally that doesn't happen in standard. Our red team. Okay, so pace 5 installs. Why does that happen like that? Use his red team? Wait, why does not work? To gain 3. Okay, so once, twice, 3. Huh? Once, twice, 3. I think they're right. Yeah, that's weird. That is weird. Chat seems to only show 3. I know, yeah, I'm not hitting Rashid and Regoliths, but the ones that said there was only 3 of them that actually mattered. Like, look, red team to gain 3, red team to gain 3, red team to gain 3. That's it. What? Why? Why would that happen? Yeah, it definitely only fired 3. All right, well, this one's totally a mess. I know we did the credit counter 9 to it, but like, I'm not sure what that did in the meantime. What about the time they forgot to click it because they were rewinding the side kill? Yeah, and then we like it has to do something with that Jade probably. Like, we retroactively changed the credits on it, but I don't know why that would change the functionality. Oh, wait. One, I see what you mean. One should definitely be missing. Chat. Because we did it manually. So that's it. Oh yeah, that's totally it. Yeah, because I thought we were looking for 5. You're right. We're only looking for 4. I thought it was like Regolith as 15 as 12. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, Vonda has it too. I thought 3 to get removed retroactively. I just thought we were looking for 5. I'm so used to Regolith having 15 on it, but yeah, it has 12. Nice. Okay. All right. Archives in shamble. Economy in shamble. They hit the penny shaver. They click for credit, then hit penny shaver. I hate how many times I click for credit when I have money on penny shaver. Yeah, you should always do that. They did both, so that's fine. They have 1 click to run here. Turbine. Are they playing a startup deck? I think they're just playing a startup deck. Yeah, this is just a startup deck. There's no standard cards in this. All right. Well, that's obviously a problem for us. Carmen on 4 is not bad. Yeah, why are they not playing Bugalter? This is a startup deck. Okay. Luminal, advance, score, gain 3 clicks, add a card from archives. I think we'll take... I don't think we need the seamless. I think we just need big money. I think we're going to install the regolith here. Mind you, we have a bunch of clicks left. We have another regolith though. I think we do the Rashida. That's probably the most tempo positive thing. So we can install... I think they should be running HQ here, but there's a chance they'll run their moat server. As soon as we show it's a regolith though, they don't run it, right? Like if we res it. Seamless for Vitruvius. I don't know if we need a big Vitruvius. I'm like worried to jam on their moat server here. They only have 3 credits though, but they break this for 1. They break this for like 3. So it's 4 and then 2 clicks from the Managarm. And they're getting to game point. I just think like at some point they'll legwork and we'll be in a bad spot. So I think we do empty this to that next server. Like there's a chance that we do gain 3, and we plug a Rashida in. Nah. Don't get an HQ mark. Nice. Yeah, maybe we don't have to worry about like diversion and boomerang. Because I think they were just playing a startup deck. What's worth knowing, not all startup decks are standard legal. There are certain cards that are banned in standard. Startup doesn't have a ban list. But the economy of this feels bad. Like I obviously like we spend a lot of money on ice. This is not normally how it goes. And I think I'm probably over respecting Sable. But that's generally, again, Smother Netrunner is maybe what we're playing. It's a bit too safe. But it's very hard for them to generate economy here. I'll gladly res a Sisenton. They have to pay 3 on this. The math to breaking Sisenton did not change. Are very taxing 5 for 3 to break ice. Oh, this is terrible. Okay, now they jack out. There's no reason to approach this. No reason not to, I guess. They can't use the Chesva on it. I think they might not realize that. They can't Chesva the magnet. They're just letting this fire. They can jack out there. Just less clicking. Okay. We have the food. That's actually pretty awkward because we have the Elevagao scored. So I think we do take 3. I think we put another piece of ice on it, and then we put the off-world in there. Okay, we have 11. We're expecting to res about 8. That leaves us with 3, which is enough to score this out. Okay, and then from there, unfortunately, we're going to have to score the Vitruvius. If we had one more biotic in this deck, we'd have a fair bit more reach, which is a really good spot to be in, especially against Criminal. They break this still for like 6 credits. Sorry, 5 credits. That's still a lot for them. Again, I do think the smother is, this is where it's paying off, is that they're probably holding like Carpe Diems, Dirty Laundries, red teams, and they're just like hard to get value from. I do think they can get value with Chesva Turbine. I wonder if they, we could lose to a single deep dive. Like there's a reason though I would want a Managarm. Okay, there's a Tremolo. Concerto with 5. Red team coming off. Running HQ here. Wait, 7 credits. Is that enough? This is literally, they got exactly the right amount of money. No, because they have 2 left over. Okay, we can get blown out here real bad. Was the second seamless you could have jammed after score? I don't think so. Oh, on this? Yeah, on this we could have. You're 100% right about that. If we pulled the second seamless back. Which was better than the Rashida because we didn't use the Rashida. So yeah, that's right. We'd rather double seamless this. Wait, this was still 3 to break? That's really funny. Carpe Diem gives you value just in credits. The run is entirely optional. Sure, but like that's not a great card. Like you're not excited about that. Right, like the value that we're denying them is more important than, yeah, they can play it for 3. But ideally you want 3 and then a Penny Shaver and Info Bounty and something else. Wait, is this credit perfect? No, one of the subroutines has to fire. Because they still have the boost. I think as soon as you see Carmen instead of Abagnale, you have to think it's startup. Carmen instead of Abagnale? Carmen. Oh, Bugalter, right? Yeah. Carmen's a strange include. This thing is just strictly worse than Bugalter. Unless you're running into only sentries, and even then it's probably... So they trash the Chesva. Alright, we gotta get lucky here. Food. Ooh. Yeah, I would love the double seamless here. Do seamless install it. You're totally right. It might actually cost us the game. I don't think they're going to deep dive, though. Yeah, that second seamless is so important. Off-world for money, add a card back. Yeah, I guess. Doesn't change much. We have to survive one turn. In terms of points in the deck, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's only 6 more points in 14 cards. Wait, more than that. 2, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 more points in 14 on R&D. Okay. So R&D is the mark. I think we're happy about that. There's only 3 agendas in 14. That's really low. Actually, it's not that bad. It's 1 and 3. It's what you expect. This only costs 5, and then they get back 3 and a click. That's weird. The Cheswa versus Info Bounty is interesting. Like, the Cheswa is in some ways more important than the Info Bounty. You're at 18 points of agendas, right? Oh, we're at 18 points. It's less than that. Yeah, I was counting 20. So they installed this, which is very tempo negative on this exact turn where we're threatening to jam. So I don't know if they're going to get enough value out of this before the game's over. Richard, I think they're playing a startup deck. We're not. Okay, so what can we do here? We can install Spin Doctor into a new remote server, draw 2, and then just hide the agendas in archives. If we draw them, I think that's reasonable. If we find a Mana Garm, we can put it on a central server. Okay, we found nothing. That's fine, though. We can shuffle 2 back into the deck. So this goes in there, gains 2. So I don't think they can run this remote server in any way. The question is, what do we do to make this difficult for them? So the answer is just another piece of ice on R&D, especially a good one. And then we shuffle back with Spin Doctor. Hey, Dana, how's it going? It is, yeah. We spent a lot of turns just making sure that Sable can't get any run-based value. But yeah, we built a fortress. 4, 5, 7? How dare you, my math? Yeah, now their math is a bit harder. HQ is the mark. We're totally happy with that. Funny enough, this breaks for 3. They have no, what's it called? Cybernetics. And then this is still boost to break. Ooh. Still like 8 credits are on HQ before they get paid back. That should be it. They can't win. Oh, no, they can win. No, well, they can't win clicking for 4. That's where like putting this down, right? Like you're investing right before you think the game is going to be over. It's like playing Daily Cast on the second last turn. Maybe you can bet that we don't have in the remote server, but it's very likely we do. So anything that pays off in like multiple turns, you just need to play for tempo right there. Good game. They should have removed from game a proper Netrunner name like Shred and Shred Pile. Mark, how's it going? I don't know. I think there's something really good about Netrunner having I was trying to get another defensive. I was looking for a defensive to put up on centrals. Couldn't find it. Yeah, if we got a Mana Garm on one of the centrals, I don't think they can deep dive anymore, but they might have been able to deep dive. It's like the math with red team there is a bit interesting though, because they do get the 9 credits from this, or the 6 credits on the turn they deep dive. Actually 9, because you have to play the deep dive. Yeah, I wonder if Shred and Shred Pile is a bit, because then they have to have different names though, right? Like Runner and Corp can't share the Shred Pile. I also find it really weird that in Netrunner templating, sometimes it says look at the top of your stack, and then other ones says look at the top of the stack. And I don't know which one's right. I think all the runner cards refer to your, but then all the corp cards refer to the. So why can't we just say the all the time? I guess it's more clear. Yeah, that answers that. Good game, that was a mess. Oh, Stab, good game. You're playing a startup deck, right? Okay, this deck is not going to do anything, and then we're just going to stop playing Saxonton forever again. But like, come on, Carmen turn 1? If they ever give RFG a name, I'd start to be worried about Exile-style shenanigans coming to the game. I like my RFGs actually RFGing. The runner that I'm currently working on, the Anarch runner, does care about RFG, which like is not that anything, I never want anything to come back from RFG, but I'm okay with somebody using RFG as a resource, the same way that Freedom uses cards, like virus counters. Like, so I'm building an Anarch that like has to host cards from archives face down to use as fuel. So you have to mill your deck and then use those. But then when you remove those cards from the game, so you have a limited fuel supply. Haven't play tested it. Don't know if it's balanced or anything, but like, I honestly wouldn't mind if RFG is a really big thing in a deck or an archetype, but I don't think cards can ever return to game, which is like I think Yu-Gi-Oh has that where like there's a graveyard and then there's an exile and then there's cards that are removed from exile. So it's just like a different graveyard. And standalone Netrunner, can you RFG with no penalty? I'm not sure what you mean by that. They did release the one multiplayer ID, which could lead to some confusion. Bardoff, which one? I forgot to say my sting line of the deck named 23 symphonic damage. Iron Man rules Netrunner would be rough. Standard Netrunner KRG with no pen. Arkham joke. I don't know what the Arkham joke is, Eric. Essa. Hey, man. Hey, best of luck. Have fun. Your stack versus the R&D maybe because runners are almost all individuals and corps are like entities. Yeah, you don't say the R&D, you say R&D. Yeah, that's neat. All right, playing against Essa, definitely want to ice up HQ. Hagen's a nice place to start. They're relatively expensive, and for them, this is where like you would like to. I don't think we ice up R&D here. We're gonna keep this hand. That's really good. Nice Spin Doctor. Standalone Arkham Exile has no downsides. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, like playing a single scenario. Yeah. Burn after reading all you want. Totally. Okay, this hand I think we draw once to fill our hand. Okay, so then we definitely want to keep HQ safe. Gatekeeper's a reasonable thing to put on archives in this matchup, but I think we're going to jam the Rashida behind it next turn. We're going to hedge fund there. Keeping 6 cards in hand is actually a pretty nice way to deal with Essa. So here we have a Spin Doctor in hand. I kind of want the ganked in this matchup. And for that and that reason alone, I'm going to go 2 off the top of the deck. It's very punished. But if they don't run this turn. If you look it up and stack grip, follow it, you're the split, except for customized secretary. Don't worry, that was the point in time where Netrunner was like not formatted at all. All right, R&D run. We can get our Spin Doctor off. Nice. So we also have some incentives to ice up the Spin Doctor, right? Because as soon as that's iced up, they're in a bad spot where they can't, do their thing. Unfortunately, that's 3 installs this turn. If we want to do Rashida, I think we can do Rashida. We can probably just get enough value from the Spin Doctor. So we'll do Rashida into Gatekeeper. That might make us not need the Spin Doctor. And then Fairchild, we can put Outermost. Maybe we just do Spin Doctor, we res, but I don't want to show the Spin Doctor. This is a really hard angle to figure out how to play. So I think we do Rashida into Gatekeepers because we want to get a server going. And then it's either Spin Doctor or we like hope that they face check into this. I don't think they do. I think we just get minimum value from the spin. Loki uses the stack and the grip. Other cards use the runner stack. Yeah, okay. Mun respects this. They have 2 credits, so we're just going to pop it. I think we want the Mana Garm back in. But hey, 1 Spin Doctor down pretty minimally, especially after the running Hada here is pretty nice. So I don't think we want to get that much value from the Ansel. So we'll do 1 of that and then 1 from the top of the deck. Actually, wait, we have... No. We'll do that. Seamless, fine. PD, mind you, also just scoring out like from hand returns the damage, which is a nice matchup. Neon, love the corporate adverts section. Keep them coming. So they have a lot of clicks here. Need to find the full version of the Anarch Dictionary. Like the bomb making book. I think the Anarchist code. Oh, we also spin off the top. Nuka. Okay, we definitely need a scoring agenda to get that back. Because they did trash our second spin there. Oh, Nana's out playing. Okay, draw 3, gain 3. All right, here is where we could win off a Saisentan if they respect the face check. So I think we're going to do... kind of want to put Saisentan on HQ. Oh, this thing still works if they Banhar it. Isn't that sick? They haven't seen this. Gatekeeper seems pretty good. So I think we're going to do this in remote server. We'll do the Mana Garm on top of it. And then we want to figure out where to put this. Drafter is obviously just as good. I think we probably... I'm going to put an R&D. Well, they might face check into it at some point. No, the Netrunner fluff volume, who's counting? I was hoping we'd see a Banhar Saisentan play. Yeah, I didn't realize because it is this actual subroutines on the ice that fire. Morrow? Okay, well, we'll get rid of a drafter and we'll do 1 from the top, I think. Off-rolled, okay, they only have 1 click left there. Okay, now we need a second ice on HQ and a second ice on the remote server. We haven't seen Steel Skin yet, have we? No. Okay, we have too many things to do here. So I'm more interested in not getting smashed on centrals. So I think we are going to hedge fund. Oh, the ganked in hand, though. We're just going to make sure that we don't get that. Because if they, what's it called? Oh, I did that backwards. I did that very backwards. We definitely want the Gatekeeper on server. Double Gatekeeper on server 1 was really wrong. That's not correct. Banhar's on R&D. They have too many cards in their hand, though. They have way too many cards in their hand. Raindrops? Oh, this is sick, though. That's a really good gatekeeper. That recurs our off-world office, refills our hand. Score to save the agenda. I want to make sure we don't get just douchegud. If we don't double ice HQ, we get just douchegud. So fire will draw 3. All right, so shuffle 3 agendas in R&D. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. I'm okay holding 2 in hand. Hand seems relatively safe. This remote server doesn't seem safe anymore. We'll get the spin doctor back in. It's not an agenda. Stop it. What are you doing? Don't be silly. Okay. Raindrops, they draw a lot. They have to discard cards here, so we're going to see some breakers hit the bin. Let's figure out what they are. Okay. They have a Black Orchestra, so our remote server is not very good. All right, so we can just score this thing out, Vitruvius, to return the Spin Doctor to hand. We'll have to discard a card. We don't have good economy. If we do that, we go down to 8. We need about 10 to res this. Not that they know it. I think we can let this cook a bit, maybe? I think we just put out the regolith and let it cook. Yeah, I don't love regolith install. Spending 3 clicks to get 4 credits is like kind of shit. And they have the money to deal with this. I really don't like that play in like immediate hindsight. If they ganked into a Fairchild, it's a nice spot. Yeah, this is what, so HQ, so we have to res 2 ice here. Luckily the Hagen will do it. So this is why we got money, because we were playing around this exact play. So here it's either 3 net damage or they can click through this 3 times. They don't have the money to break this. Fire all, so they take 3 net damage. We hit a steel skin. What else do we hit? We hit all the steel skins besides 1, so nearly all. And now this Hagen's not going to do massive damage. Can they get through it? They have no paperclip. So the Hagen will end the run. Love me a Hagen. Okay, that's 1 chast down. Cool. Now they really should trash this because our economy's in shambles. Choose up to 2 cards to trash from HQ. I think we're giving up on the ganked. And the Hagen. That's just agendas in hand. This is where the legwork's really good, right? 14. They're running this. That's what they need to do. Our economy is really bad. We need to like seamless and off-world office, creative commission. Nice. Ah, help. So if we score this, we don't go down to 2 credits. In terms of breakers, also, they have only their decoder. I think we score this down and get the spin doctor back and shit. Oh, sorry. Not a good thing. We should have showed them. All right, so they have to replay their creative, and then we just score this thing out, go down to 2. Feels bad. Agendas get lonely all by themselves in your hand? Yeah, they kind of do. So what do we get back? I think it's going to be the spin. It lets us fix our hand. Oh, then we sabotage. Okay, top of the deck is fine. It's an Eli. This is really ugly, and this is the problem I'm having with like PD. I don't feel like we have a good economy. Our economy is entirely upheld by regolith, and like that is a slow card. Ganked goes in the bin, gets tilted. That's fine. Ganked is such a slow card. Oh, sorry, not ganked, a regolith. Like it feels really bad. They did generate way more value than we do, way quicker. And having to spend our whole turn to like again to gain 4 credits, whatever. Okay. Creative commission, nice. Trank, I don't know. I think you might want to trash that. Okay, at least now if they sabotage, we can clear in our hand a bit. Warning for revealing information. Yo, Crower, I did not know this, but I was reading through the Netrunner rules, and it codifies that you can lie as long as you're lying about hidden information. Right? Like if someone asks you how many cards in your hand, how many credits you have, cards in your deck, all that stuff, you have to tell the truth 100% of the time. But you can look at a card and point at it and say like, hey, that's a snare. Oh, you shouldn't run this. That's apparently illegal. I didn't realize that. Installing Trank second. Oh, it doesn't fire the turn you install it because it counts itself. I don't think I've ever read that in a card games rule where it says in the rules you are allowed to make up information. All right, so we're getting Chastushka here. I'm assuming they have their paperclip. Yeah. All right, they probably know if they're tracking. We have a spin doctor here, so this is not the best. Oh yeah, fix it up. Or you can move it. The Banhar. Yeah, they can do whatever they want here. You gained nothing. Did you? I don't think they gained information. They didn't get information. If they want to install and break though, like, feel free. Oh, right on. Okay, not for me, yeah. Andre, my wife, says hello. Hey, how's it going? How's your Thursday evening? You get the Quebec holiday over there, don't you? This is actually quite expensive for them. Can the runner live have face down cards placed by Apex faction effects? That's actually a bit trickier. What is under the card it's like technically like known information. Most players will tell you what it is. It's like, do you remember what's in server 7? I don't think the rules say you have to be on it. Like, I don't know if the rules say that if you forgot what a certain card is, but you're not allowed to shuffle your face down cards. You have to flip them and they have to be where they are. But I think you just note take if you're really worried about it. Obviously, like really weird edge case. 4 from the deck. I don't care. Yeah, that makes sense. Apex card face downs are known. Yeah, they're known information, but some players, you know. Do we pop a spin doctor to let them steal an Elevigao? I think if they steal an Elevigao, we're happy. I think we use our spin doctor on worse problems. We're not from Quebec. I thought you'd just carry it over. I thought you'd say like, no, we can do this. I think anyone in Canada can cite Quebec holiday. Okay, what do we do now, though, with the spin doctor? Maybe we should have just popped it because we don't have any good thing to not do with this remote server. Yeah, that's probably right. We probably should have popped it. Because, like, what are we doing now? We're popping it anyways because we have to jam in a stupid regolith again. This is not good. Hunted Grounds installs cards face down from the top of the stack. Those are unknown. You don't have to say what's those because they're not known. But, like, if you flip the card face down, it's known information. Like a Harbinger or whatever. Yeah, okay. Immediately misplayed that. HQ is so ripe. We know their one legwork is out. In terms of labor rights, they have one more cooking somewhere. So we're going to get rid of this. Yeah, that feels really bad. That was like a very, very, very misplaced spin doctor. I'm going to put the ganked back because that seems fun. No, we probably just put 2 seamlesses back. A seamless and a hedge fund seems fine. All right, we'll res the trank. Install this. Gain money. Res. Gain money. Tranquil. Tire Kami, the deck is this card. Agreed. Looking for silly technicalities in the official line rules. No, that's important. You got to do that. And then you have to make them known because then they'll update them. They only have 10 cards left. Steelskin Scarring count. All out. Come. Saisentan, come. They have no killer yet. Face down runner cards are distinct and their origins are known. If they're installed face down, they have no previous known, they remain unknown. This can be lied about. Yeah. Sure gamble. You have a lot of cards in hand. R&D. The checking archives here. Just getting 3 credits. Discarding a bunch. Bonhart, they have an MK Ultra now. Okay. All right, we have a magnet. We haven't seen a botchless. This version doesn't seem to be the fermenter botchless version. I think that's Grey Tongue. The problem is, like, how do we score in a remote server? Like, we can empty this. Sure, we can. But they break this for 3. They break this for 9. Like, we have to drag them into the server for something that's not an agenda. So I think we just have to, like, bait them in with an agenda looking thing. So we'll just do this. Yeah. It means we don't discard a card too, which, like, that's okay. This costs them 6. This costs them nothing if they want to take damage. At some point, they have to, like, play their, labor rights before they take more damage. They trust the top card of their stack. If they care about hit points, they can draw once there. But if they know what the card is, they should. They might not need it. Yeah, it looks like it was a Marrow, so that makes sense. Oh, it's a finality. Trash 2. Okay. Let's go, Saisentan. So they have to break this. They have the money, but this would have been lethal. We're going to call event. What did they shuffle back in? Labor rights, Justushka, it's Justushka. Yeah, makes sense. So cost 6. They're going to see 4 cards here. Yeah, we're not doing anything. We just don't have money. Like, we just don't have money to play the game. Is this what HP is like? Like, do HP decks have money unless they place, what's it called, fully operational or stock buyback? It feels really rough. Checking archives, that's fine. This thing, they break for 6, though. It actually, like, is kind of reasonable. Sort of. Draw, okay. Bonhart. So their hand is Chestushka, labor rights. HP not having good economy right now is pretty sad. Yeah, it's kind of hard. So we can get Vitruvius with the counter, which is like really powerful. We can also just do Vitruvius and jam another card in their mode server. It seems more important. We're very sure we're going to get, what's it called right here? What's it called? Chestushka. They just have to break this for 2 credits. Maybe even twice. Yeah, I think we get Chestushka twice. How do we stop that from happening? We could get a Managarm on HQ. It's actually a very good defense. So I think we have to score this like this. Add a card. Get the Managarm. Put it on HQ. Oh, shit. Did you see that value? Did you see that? That wasn't the one I wanted. I returned the card and then tried to use it, but Maro fired. I know it's Maro. I keep saying Maro. Let me trash something else. Let me trash something else. It's really funny. One thing about the whole hidden / open information is that a lot of information is only open when it's visible. So things that go face down become hidden information again, right? What happened to all the HB's campaigns? They still have them. They have them. Nico and Maryland. I think Nico is an opportunity for this deck for sure. So we could have got another counter on the Vitruvius. I think I'd rather do this though. I think they just flush this though. I'm not sure if the specifics of sportsman conduct as to lying about a spin you turned face down. I think the like known information that becomes unknown information is up to players to decide. Right? Like some players will be like, yeah, you know what that is, because people should just like, you know, note take. Oh man, we lose so hard to legwork in like a perfect way for a deck that's not like proactively scoring out. I think we learned here. Well, I don't think we learned much. I think the Saisoton will just like end people in early face checks, but like out of the 2 games we played, I don't think it was a pretty good representation. This is the 3rd. Okay, so they know we threw out a Rashida. They're just making money. It makes sense, because now they can fork us between where do we want to res this thing. We have to give them points here. We have to. If we had Biotic, I think that would be actually a way to close the game out. The only other option is scoring out the food somehow. Gain 2, gain credit, go. Yeah, Adonis campaign doesn't exist anymore. Eve doesn't. Refuge campaign is a thing, but largely is deemed unplayable. Nice. Finality, 2 from the top. All right. There's a lot of points in there. Event. Pay 6. Nice. I wonder about the accessibility issues involved with memory games. Letting the player decide is all well and good, but maybe OP needs to codify things. I think Crowr, like, it's note taking, right? Like, I think that's the way the accessibility attacks that, is like you can take notes. But obviously Netrunner has made huge strides to make that more accessible as possible. This is where they just try and, you know, just get as much core damage. I don't know why they don't run the remote though. They could. Maybe they're scared of like ganked stuff. They probably are. That being said, they know what this is. We showed them. Aluminal Heel's kind of sick. Labor rights, dirty laundry, finality. So they have a finality coming up. Checking archives, nothing in there. There's one more spin doctor somewhere. Oh man, we're getting away with something here. Oh man, we're getting at something. Okay, hold on. So we know that they're going to see a bunch more cards here. They saw 1. They saw 4 cards. We've seen 2 of them. This one and this one. So the next 2 cards in R&D are known. So that means we really have to sabotage from hand. Okay. So we want to seamless advance this. I think. We probably don't have to seamless it. The extra click doesn't seem that useful. There's probably some line here. So we do advance, advance, advance. We gain 3 clicks. They have 8 credits. We add a card from archives for sure. So the question is, what card do we add? We have a seamless in hand. We don't have a spin doctor. I think just adding any card so we can discard a card seems like very relevant. And then we just have to like rip our hand. Oh, but then they run. Like they 100% play the finality. Ganked is useless, right? Because they're going to access it last. And they know we'll have it, so they'll just play around it. Maybe that is the perfect crime. But like, it's very likely that they finality and then just run R&D and win off the axis itself. They'll only be seeing 2 more cards, but that's assuming that we mill from hand. We also have to marrow here once, right? Like, which is messed up. We know the top deck is not the next 2 are not spin doctors. So we're going to mill 1 off the top of the deck. So if they finality, they see 3. Funny enough, the what's it called is actually important. Like, getting another ice on R&D is kind of reasonable because they definitely need to break this thing for 6. Huh, this is a really hard puzzle. So we had to throw out a non-agenda from hand. Yeah, 1 FGFI in the deck is all that's left, and they need to find it. If it's in the bottom, like if it's the bottom card, we're in an okay spot. I think we just hope that's the reality of the matter. So I think we just take whatever. We can take the ganked so we can bluff in the remote server. Yeah, maybe we just take the ganked. And then immediately throw it out. So we can do install on server 1. Seamless. If you're going to marrow here, are you just putting back the card you pick up? Yes, but they don't know. Like, they have to check it. So we do install. If we draw deeper. They can see 6 cards with the finality into the sabotage. So we have to hope that GFI is the last possible card. So it's a 1 in 7. Not great odds. We can draw once and hope it's an ice. Here's where you could do deck tracking and then figure out what ice is left in the deck. At least 1 Saisentan. Lamau. So I think we install this. We probably don't draw. What's left in the deck? A Saisentan? A Managarm? Another one Fairchild's out, one's there. So it's not a Fairchild. I don't know. This is a bit too difficult. We have to have a deck tracker. I don't know the deck that well. But I think we just put this on server 1, gain 2. And then we just gain 2 credits. And then we sabotage that. No, we draw once. It doesn't matter where we sabotage from. We sabotage this and the top of the deck. No, we can't sabotage that. Great. So we have to sabotage these 2. We're in a bad spot. We should have advanced once. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. Do you mind? We have to advance this because we're going to discard 2 from hand. Oh, thank you. Let's do that. And Geofront bluff? I don't know. But yeah, I think we have to throw these 2 cards out. Otherwise, they run archives and they win. There's a chance they don't think they can run this. Looks like they're considering running it. Do you have to do it sooner than later, though? Because we have Gatekeeper into Managarm, which costs us 6. Which means we can do it. Depending on how the sabotage hits. Yeah, we can maybe do it. Any ganked in the deck would make you win. Remove those spins. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all you. Yeah, no worries. Take your time. Yeah, I feel like against the ESA deck, we kind of like the spin doctors. So the issue here, unless we sabotage these 2 cards from hand, they can see every card in the deck. We can sabotage the Tranquility and the top of R&D, and then they can see 4 cards in the deck. So then the bottom 1, the bottom 2. All right. So they're just douche-getting here for sure. They are going to go down to 1 credit. So all we have to do is hope that the bottom card of the deck, or the bottom 2, are is the Global Food Initiative. Damn it. Good game. That was close. That was the last. Yeah, for sure. For what it's worth, if they hit a gank there, if we had another gank, we would have won the game. So like if they're scared of gank, that actually is a pretty difficult line to take. Hey, you too. But like our issue is economy. We had our hand, we just weren't able to put the thing in the remote server behind the ice that we could afford to res. But yeah, if there's another ganked in there, that's a really hard line. Spin Doctor was the last card, so we're never drawing that. But if the Spin Doctor, right, like if any of these 2 were food, we win on the spot. So not likely, but hey, we could have got there. Because here on 1 credit, they can run this. They could do credit, run this, break this, or taking that damage. They can't break the Gatekeeper, let alone deal with the Managarm. So we're in a good spot. All right, I think we have something there. I think playing Seisenton in yellow might be better. Maybe we have a better economy in some deck there. I don't know. The HB thing seems reasonable. It's just like, I don't know. It's weird. Like losing, what's it called? Obviously Sandbox is a really big deal for that HB deck, but just the economy doesn't feel good. I want a good operation. I'm happy to play that like does the HB thing without, you know, feeling too strong. Anywho, it's midnight. We got a bit later than we normally do, but that's going to be it for today. Thanks all for dropping in. Stay tuned for my salty Seisenton story time. I think we've proven very little, but we've now sowed the fear that anytime anyone queues up in me and I'm playing HB or playing NBN, they're going to worry there's a Seisenton in there. We've proven nothing about it though. Hey, Ludmilla came in right at the end as usual. What's on the table for the evening? Unfortunately, we're just shutting down. We were playing Seisenton in decks that don't deserve to play Seisenton as a way for runners to respect it. And I think actually we should probably play it in NBN because we can play 3 ganked and we can get there a bit sooner. Also, Ludmilla, thanks for all the comments you've been leaving on the channel. I know you can't join live too often. I appreciate it. Great stream. Thank you. We are all salty. That's largely it. We have an event upcoming. Again, there's a bunch of events going on this weekend around the space. Always stay tuned to always be running. But that's largely it. If you have a long weekend because you're in Quebec, enjoy the long weekend. Otherwise, take care of yourself.